sir.
Eat that meat, Jennifer.
Why doesn't that feather look pleasant?
Fasten your taste buds,
For gastronomic ride.
because our two fat ladies are itching
To get into your kitchen. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Puddles.
Hello, sister.
Hello, you seem to be lost.
We're only a little bit.
We're looking for the abbey, which you doubtless belong to.
I do indeed, but you're a little bit off course.
Ah.
You've come to the Abbey farm.
Oh, I see.
Now, to get to the Abbey, you want to go back to the main road.
Oh, good.
On the left.
Good.
Fine lot of cows you've got.
Well, they're not too bad.
They're amazing. They're all different colours.
Well, I sort of experimented a bit with the breeding. And that very coloured one is, I had a very favourite Charolais bull and a cow I was kind of fond of. So they had, between them, they had a heifer calf.
Do you have help with your cows?
Well, I have a man once a week.
How many nuns are there at the Abbey now?
26.
Oh, that's not bad, is it?
Well, it's not too bad for these days. Girls don't want to commit themselves these days. Too materialistic.
Too materialistic.
Yeah.
They have to wait a bit.
Have to wait a bit.
I don't think we do, Jennifer. I think we're a bit worldly, really.
I'm a bit too old, I think.
Well, never too
know.
Never too late to mend. You've got to have been out in the world a bit to know what you're missing. And
Yeah.
2 proposals at least.
2 proposals.
Yep.
And the
And then-
Lord is the best choice.
And then take the best choice.
Yes. Otherwise you might get yearnings later on.
Well, you might, yes. Right.
Well, we better go on. I think it's going to pour with rain. We'll see you later at the Abbey.
I hope so.
Thank you so
Look
much.
forward to it. Good heavens, look at it, Jennifer.
Good Lord.
It's
What
a
a
sort of
Gothic pile.
Walter Scott Castle. It's incredible. How did it get here?
Can't wait. Let's
Go and find out.
Ah, there you are. There you are.
Good morning.
How good to see you. Good
Hey,
morning
Mother.
to you.
Oh, never mind yourself.
isn't
Hi,
it?
Clarissa, yes.
And
See
this
you.
one must be Jennifer.
How wonderful to see
You're
you.
very, very
Lovely
welcome.
greeting.
It's good to see you.
A lovely warm welcome.
On a cold morning.
On a
Because it
cold
is cold
morning.
enough, isn't it, you know?
I feel I should kiss your ring, madam.
Good heavens,
That's it.
now, that's all gone into the past.
Not with me, it hasn't.
You're
We've
a
had to get through.
traditionalist, never mind. Isn't this a marvellous machine?
Yes, great fellow, isn't he?
Oh, wonderful.
What an amazing place this is.
It is rather
fantastic.
lovely, isn't it?
We were wanting to give the community lobsters.
Ooh,
Mother.
how very kind of you.
Where would
Treats.
we buy some round here?
Now, you'll have to travel to a little village called Tullycross.
Yeah.
And there you'll find a man called John on one of the little quays.
Sounds very biblical, doesn't it?
Indeed.
Where's the man called
Casting
John?
the nets, indeed. But if John is not on the little quay, go to the nearest pub and you'll find him there.
Course
I'm sure
Island.
he'll invite you in. So at this point, Jennifer and Clarissa, are you ready for the kitchen? Do you
Yes,
think
yes.
you should divest
We
and
better
get
have a
cracking?
look at it, hadn't
Very good. All
we?
right
Case
then.
the joint.
Oh, ho.
And we'll divest ourselves.
Well, must you remove those lovely bonnets?
Oh, well, they get a bit hot inside.
I think the sisters would be very happy to have one each.
One each.
If you could leave us that machine, that is.
Yes, you look wonderful. I'm going to make a raspberry shortcake today. It's not shortcake like Scotland means shortcake. It's a sort of mixture between that and rather a scone. But my poor little raspberries have taken rather a bash on the way here. I think Clarissa sat on them.
I didn't.
Well, they're not all they should be, so I'm going to add some strawberries, but I wouldn't normally. I would only use very beautiful raspberries. Anyway, what we start with is sifted flour, which is in here, and I'm going to add almonds, ground almonds. Pop them in. Then 2 good pinches of cinnamon.
Cinnamon?
Yeah, that goes into the crumb, you might say. Gives that, you know how delicious cinnamon toast and things are.
Yes,
Yeah.
I never thought of it with strawberries, that's all.
Well, it's really with raspberries, but it's going to be a mixture today on account of you sat on them.
I never. It's those rough, bumpy roads, Jennifer.
I know.
And the speed at which you were riding the bike.
Anyway, it's a pity, but there you are. Now we must put in sugar, pinch salt, mix it up a bit. Take the butter and cut it in to begin with, and then we'd have to rub it in as usual until it gets that sort of crummy look. Now we must add an egg. Here we are. I'll get the egg in first and then add a little milk. Just a little, because you want to make it to a sort of consistency of a scone. Don't get it too wet or it goes a bit unmanageable.
It's shortbread in Scotland, not shortcake.
Yes, shortbread. Like 2 Senegambians lying in bed, one turned over to the other and said, "Mum's going to make some shortening bread. Mum's little baby likes shortening. Mum's little baby likes shortening bread." That's what we're up to. Time for hand manipulation, I think. We want to get that into a bowl.
I used to come to the west of Ireland a lot as a child because my father had cousins in Donegal. I remember being with my grandmother in Tipperary once and asking the way to the post office. The man sort of leant down into the car and he said, "Well, you see as far as you can see. Well, you go as far as you can see, and then the post office is just beyond it." We never found the post office.
And if you see a signpost, pay no attention to it. Now, I'm dividing this into equal, more or less, equal bits. And you just put it into the pan like that, and then sort of with your knuckles, just press it to fill the pan, which have been buttered.
You could use a shillelagh.
What for?
Oh, for pressing it down with it.
With a shillelagh under me arm and a twinkle in me eye, I'll be off to Tipperary in the mar. Ning, I think knuckles will do.
Yes,
Shillelagh is a great big thing.
I know, but it's such a nice word.
That's all right. Take the other bit and do exactly the same thing.
It's so wonderful, all those Irish ballads.
So the Scottish ones, I love them. One of my favourite lines is, "And there stood brave Sir Percy, although in dreadful dumps, when his legs were smitten off, he fought upon his stumps." There we are, I think they're more or less all right. No difficulty there at all. They need to pop into the oven for about 15 minutes. And you can do your foreign beans.
Broad beans are totally seasonal, so make the most of them when you can. This is an Egyptian dish, which I call broad beans with dill, largely because its direct translation is oily broad beans. But don't be put off by that, it's delicious. And what I've got here is some broad beans that I've just been topping and tailing. You want to use young broad beans, as young as you can get for this, because they're cooked whole in their pods. And you don't want a pod much bigger than this. And all I've done is I've topped and tailed them and strung them where necessary.
They are more delicious than any other vegetable, I think.
Oh, wonderful.
They must be young, though, mustn't they?
They must.
They're ruined.
And into this nice heavy pot, I'm going to put some olive oil, quite a lot of olive oil. Remember that they're called oily beans. And I'm just going to soften in it some chopped onion and some garlic. If you eat the bean pod pureed, you just boil it up in some salted water and put it through a mouli or a food processor. Sometimes that repays you better than eating the broad bean. And I'm just going to put the beans into the pan with the softened onion and garlic and a pinch of sugar, good pinch of sugar, and good grinding of salt and some lemon juice. Very good, this lemon squeezer, I would think.
I love those little creatures.
The lemon juice will stop the beans discolouring. There we are. I'm going to put the lid on and leave them to cook for about 15 minutes.
Now we'll do the combination of this luscious creature. By the usual chance, I've got one at the ready. Now what I tend to do is turn them upside down for the spreading bit. I think it receives the juices better. Get a nice little pot of raspberry jam, and you spread this liberally. Then my poor little raspberries, I'll put some of them in the middle. I'll just put those there. Then I can put lots of strawberries round. Rather pretty, the two reds, actually.
Yeah,
Poor little things. Now, good big dollops of cream.
I bet Sister Benedict has good cream from those cows.
Now we get the other one and put it on top. Press it in. And now, the rest of the cream. Quite difficult to handle this when you're eating it. Probably best eaten in the bath. Squish it down. And we'll put some raspberries and strawberries on the top. I wonder where that strange expression, you know, blowing a raspberry comes from.
I haven't the remotest idea. That's when you do that frightfully rude thing and go, yeah, that's right.
Charles Lawton did a wonderful one in Ruggles of Redgap. He was a drunken butler, and his boss had given him the sack, and he just went...
Babies love it when you do that to them, don't they?
Yeah, and they like doing it back.
Right, let's see how these are getting on. There we are. Excellent. And then add half the dill. Just throw it in. I'll put the other half in just before the dish is cooked and toss it through. Add some water, and you want to let this cook slowly for about an hour, possibly more, until the pods are just tender. And I serve this with pita bread or Arab bread and good Greek yoghurt on the side. But what you can do is let it cool down and stir the yoghurt through it, and then serve it with the bread. Very good it is too.
Lovely mixture.
Doesn't that look nice?
Isn't it? Fit for Mother Superior. And how?
Hello. Are you John?
No. John is gone. You'll find him in the pub in the next village.
Wouldn't you now?
Yeah, that's where he is.
Wait, how long has he been gone?
About 10 minutes.
Have you got any lobsters?
No. John is the king.
Oh, he is?
The lobster king.
Lobster king.
You're just being kind.
Just been kind, cleaning his pots.
Oh, well, that's very nice of you. We'll catch the little rascal.
Okay.
He was meant to be here.
You like that,
See you
don't
later.
Yeah, come and join us. Nice young man.
Well, I bet they get smugglers in these coves.
Must be this one. Don't see any others?
No. Well,
Hello.
Hello, you're welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. We're looking for a man recommended by Reverend Mother. He's called John, and he's going to provide us with lobsters.
Good. I'll just check and see if he's in, okay?
Yes.
Are you in, John? This is John.
Right here. Morning.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Did you manage to get us some lobsters?
Oh, yeah. No
You
problem.
did? Oh, wonderful.
Are they in there?
Oh, yeah.
Look, Jennifer, look.
Look at him. Look at him.
Isn't he great?
Wonderful. Wonderful colour.
Do you get many lobsters now?
Not really.
Not like it was.
They're getting scarce by the year.
You managed to get ours there.
Aye.
Will I take them?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Will you bill me?
No problem at all about that.
Silly question. Right, let's go, Jennifer, or they'll get none.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
As we're in the south of Ireland, I thought we'd have that deeply classical dish of lobster and mayonnaise. Very simple to do, and I think one of the most delicious things in the world. Here we have a splendid specimen,
A denizen of the
a
depths.
denizen of the depths. This lobster has to be put into lukewarm water. It sort of lulls it to sleep, and then of course it will die. Shrimps are done this way. Everything like that is done this way.
That's
So
right.
you just have to face up to it. Some people think it's kind of to put a needle through the brain. This does nothing but paralyze it. It can still feel anything. So this is much nicer way to do it. When it comes to the boil, cook it for 10 minutes. And if you don't want to know the score, look away now. There we are. Now we'll make mayonnaise. Now you mustn't be frightened of mayonnaise. Most people are frightened of it, but it is so much better than anything you can get out of a bottle. Bowl, beater, 2 egg yolks. That'll be sufficient for half a pint of oil. I'm going to put in a dollop of Dijon mustard, lemon juice. Just give it a squeeze at this stage. You may want to add more later. Pinch of salt, maybe 2, and some pepper.
I've always had the idea that either you can make mayonnaise or you can't.
Yeah, but I think people get frightened of it.
What, like soufflés? you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is essential is that everything should be room temperature. Do not take eggs out of the refrigerator and think you can get away with it. You can't. Everything must be room temperature. Most important.
Shouldn't keep eggs in the fridge anyway.
I know, but people do. Make quite sure all this is beaten very well together. So with the help of St. Joseph up there, St. Zita, who looks after the kitchen, let's hope this works for you. Now, you can use a mixture of olive oil and sunflower oil or a vegetable oil. I actually like using all olive oil, but a mild one, not a sort of extra virgin. You want to put the oil in drop by drop. This is the important thing right at the beginning. When we've got it to a state of emulsification, you can then sort of add dollops or a steady stream. If you do it too quickly, it won't emulsify, it'll just curdle. If it curdles, you can start in another bowl, put another egg yolk in, and drop by drop again, put the curdled stuff into it, and all will be well. Sometimes you can save it by a drop of hot water. This is going to take quite a little time, so I suggest you carry on with your nice little things. I think I'll grab me a stool. Go to school.
I'm making tomato tartlets, which is really something I made one day to use up some leftover salad niçoise and decided that it was very nice. Into this pan, I'm going to put some olive oil and soften some chopped onion and some chopped garlic, to which I'm going to add some oregano. Oregano is very much the sort of flavour of the Mediterranean. If you haven't got oregano, you can use marjoram, which you'll probably have growing in your herb patch, or on your fire escape if you're Jennifer.
I have.
And, oh, could you pass me the pepper?
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. And a bit of salt. And into this, I'm going to put the juice that I strained from the tomatoes when I was peeling them and seeding them. And there we are. That's cooked right down and reduced now to almost nothing. Right. Now here I have my little tartlet cases, which I've made with some Parmesan cheese. I'm going to spoon a little of the onion mixture into each one.
If you did them sort of mini size, they'd be very good with drinks. At a
Cocktail party?
Yeah.
Yes, no, they would. You make them any size you want, really. You had, I mean, these are for starters, but you can have them for a main course, or you can make them larger. You can make it into a large flan. Anything you want. And now I've got some nice pale tuna here. If you are using fresh tuna, you'll want to cook it very briefly, just sear it in a pan until it's able to be flaked. Put it on top of the onion mixture in the tart so that it lies fairly flat. On top of my tuna, I'm going to put these tomatoes, which I've just seeded, peeled and sliced, just a couple of bits per tart. Right, now, here I've got some eggs, 2 eggs, which I'm just going to mix up and put in some cream. There we are. Just pour it over.
Will it fit in?
There we are.
Yeah, sink through. Rather good.
And some black olives. 2 black olives.
Good.
There we are. Doesn't that look pretty?
Yes, lovely. Just the sort of little tartlet I like.
And I'm just going to sprinkle a bit of good strong cheddar, or cheddar type cheese on top of each of them.
What is that? Some fine Irish cheese.
It's Keen's, yeah.
Looks excellent.
They do have good cheese in Ireland.
They
A lot
do.
of good native cheeses. There we are. And now these need to go into the oven for about 15 minutes, I suppose.
Whoops, this is ready.
Hey, look, magic. I always think mayonnaise is magic.
It's wonderful stuff, isn't it? Ought to be like that. Do you see? Now I'm going to attack the lobster. Would you be very sweet and help me? I give you the claws.
Okay.
Right, now we've got to cut the lobster in half. And if you look where the head joins there's a mark. And that's where we want to put our first stab of the knife. It's just there. There's a sort of cross. Easy to see. See? And make sure it goes right through. Then start cutting down. Needs quite a bit of strength, this. But don't be frightened of it. Just keep it steady. Make sure you're going right through the whole time. Now, look what Clarissa's doing with the claw.
Well, you see, you just break it across there, and then it'll come off like that.
Beautiful.
And then, if you're very clever, you can twist that gently. There we are. Do it.
Get it out.
Get it all out in one piece if you're very clever.
I think we need St. Peter for this one.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'll get that bit
Yeah,
out.
Is it going to come?
Yeah.
Yes, beautifully done.
There. And then you just put it
Wonderful.
out through there.
Now, open it up. Lay them out. Now, just there, you'll see a little darker line, and that is its intestine. And it's just as well to remove that. It won't hurt you, but it would be a little bitter.
It's all to do with sex and breeding.
I wouldn't be at all surprised.
You know, when their digestion slows down when they're about to breed, and so you get a blacker vein.
Oh, so this one...
It's already done it.
So it's done it. Well, it died happy then. Now, we pay attention to the head part. There are 2 nasty sort of lumps here, which are in fact the lung, I think. Anyway, you don't want to eat them. So remove them.
Do you know, I had a friend who dived for a lobster and brought it up, and the claw was the size of his hand.
Incredible. What a wonderful treat.
Yes.
I wonder if it'd be tough. No.
No, because I've caught crayfish in the Caribbean that have grown up to 60 pounds. And,
60 pounds.
And they weren't tough at all. I mean, they can grow up to 100 pounds.
Fast.
Imagine cooking one.
In a bath. You'd have to do it.
Absolutely.
Heating an old tin bath out in the garden, I think. So we will serve that to the nuns with a bowl of mayonnaise on the side, and I hope they'll love it.
I would.
Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts, which of thy bounty we are about to receive, through Christ our Lord. Amen. And we ask you, Lord, to bless the kind cooks who prepared this delicious meal for us, and we look forward to sharing this celebration. Oh, this looks good. Oh, indeed.
A sophisticated tart fit for a saintly nun.
Would you like some water? Please. Thanks very much.
Nothing becomes a lobster better than simplicity and mayonnaise.
Who said we eat with our eyes? Isn't that it?
A taste of the Levant from a British vegetable garden.
I don't know. My sister John is very, very fond of our lobster. Yes? What have you got,
A
sister?
luscious confection for after confession.
I must say, it's sort of the mountains and the wind and the nuns here. It's a bit like, what was that film, Black Narcissus?
Well, we need those could do for the Himalayas.
That's right. I'm not surprised all those Irish poets get going on about the waters lapping at the lake shore. It's the only place you get away from the midges.
Terrible, scratch, scratch, scratch all through the night.
And Mother Abbess says she still gets bitten.
Oh yes, and she said she'd been here 32 years.
Yeah.
Good heavens. I think I could stay here, but I feel so sleepy the whole time.
And it's very soporific, isn't it?
Yeah.
In fact, if I feel so sleepy, I think I'll stay and take the veil, and you can go back to England on your own.
Yeah, I think you'd look lovely in that headdress. Might end up like those lovely people in the pub. They were divine. I couldn't understand a word they said.
Well, I sometimes think that it's an absence of teeth, Jennifer, that doesn't help.
Never mind, it's been great.
Been lovely, yes.
We'll come again.
Oh, I think so, yes.
Slanta.
Ushmeli mishleva ugredi. Look, Jennifer, I really didn't sit on your raspberries. I know you're upset, but I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I did not.
Yes, you did.
I didn't.
They were crushed.
But I didn't sit on them.
Well, who else could sit on them? You were the one with them.
I don't know, the Almighty.
No, it was you sat on them. You had both of them.
I did not.
You did.
I didn't.
Did. Grab that crab, Clarissa.
Eat that meat, Jennifer.
Why doesn't that feather look pleasant?
Fasten your taste buds,
For gastronomic ride
because us two fat ladies are itching up
to get into your kitchen. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Great county, Gloucestershire. Perfect for a pony club rally.
What's that?
It's like a Gymkhana, Jennifer. We're cooking for lots of little children on ponies.
Look at these dear little creatures. We must be getting close.
Oh, look, they're here.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Clarissa. Hello.
And I'm Jessica. May I introduce Mary?
Hello, I'm DC of the Cotswold Hunt Pony Club.
Are you indeed?
Curtsy, Jennifer. That's for District Commissioner.
All the children are here getting ready for brushing their ponies.
They're very smart.
They look wonderful.
Yes,
Lovely, good turnout. Where will the Gymkhana be?
Well, it's just through this gap here, and then it's in a field at the bottom there.
And did you manage to find us a kitchen?
We have indeed. It's just through here.
Thank heavens for that.
This is the barn where they're going to have their lunch.
Isn't it a fine place?
It's rather splendid. Anyway, if you'd like to follow me.
I'll help Demelza with Mabel.
Right, see you later.
Who's Mabel?
The pony, Jennifer, the pony.
Come on through.
Have a little chat.
It is, isn't it? It's beautiful.
As a special treat for the Dear Pony Club, I'm going to make a chocolate creme brulee. And here I've got a nice jug of double cream.
That's what I'd like to see, a whole jug of double cream.
No nonsense here. And a vanilla pod, nice and aphrodisiacal. Just bend it in the middle, put it in the cream, and I'm going to heat the cream until it's scalding but not boiling. It mustn't boil, it just reach scalding point.
Well, it'll curdle, won't it?
That's right, it'll be horrible. And here I've got some icing sugar and 4 egg yolks. And I'm just going to put them into the icing sugar and mix them in well. It's not a French pudding at all, creme brulee. It's really Trinity burnt creams.
Cambridge, no?
Cambridge, that's right. Young Scottish man called Reed, who came down to be a tutor at Trinity and offered the recipe to the kitchens, and they declined it. Oh no, didn't want any of that nasty stuff.
Silly fools.
And he said, oh, well, one day I'll be Master of Trinity, and he was. And he had it at his inaugural banquet.
Why it's got a French name, I don't know.
I expect it's the Victorians, isn't it? Sort of foreign food is better or posher or something. When you have half the hotels in the British Isles still trying to pretend they're Escoffier.
I'm curious to see you using icing sugar.
Yes, it just seems to mix in better because
Yeah.
of the chocolate. For ordinary brulee, I'd use caster. Just get my cream. And I've got to cover this and leave it to infuse. It needs to infuse for 15 minutes.
To get a delicious taste.
Of vanilla.
It's a very pungent smell, isn't it?
Vanilla, yes, it's a wonderful smell. They put it in a lot of perfumes nowadays. I don't know if I like it all that much.
I don't either, but people used to use it during the war when you couldn't get any scent. They used to get a bit of vanilla essence, put it behind their ears.
And now I'm going to fish out the vanilla pod. Strange to think, isn't it, that vanilla was another of those things that we didn't have till after Christopher Columbus. But it was very common for the Aztecs and the Incas, and then the Spanish brought it back.
Will you rinse that off and use it again?
No, I know you can, but what I'm going to do is just slit it open, like that, and then scrape the seeds back into the mixture.
I hope the little dears will like this. You don't think it's a bit outré for them?
My dear, this is the Cotswolds. They're probably more sophisticated than we are. And now I'm just going to put lots of lovely chocolate into it. And stir it in, melt it in well. The cream's still hot enough.
I'm not really very fond of horses. I think I'm a bit frightened of them. I was once bitten by a Shetland pony in Gretna Green, of all places.
Teach you to get a Gretna Green, won't it?
Left a great bite on my arm.
Well, don't worry, dear, I'll look after you.
I believe if you breathe into their nostrils, they tell you all their secrets.
Well, so I'm told, yes. More likely to take your nose off, I would have
I
thought,
would
but
think
still.
too.
Certainly Shetland ponies.
You know, they eat them in Holland because apparently they're nice round little creatures. They make very good eating.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sure they do.
Very good idea.
So there we are, all melting in nicely now. Make sure there are no lumps. And then I'm just going to pour it into my icing sugar and egg yolks.
Should I stir while you pour the hot stuff in?
That would be very kind,
We
thank
don't
you.
want to curdle, do we?
Indeed, no.
Yum, yum.
Can I tempt you to this, do we think?
Oh, absolutely. Creme brulee is the only thing I like where eggs and cream mixed. It doesn't wobble.
It's the wobbling you object to.
Can't bear the wobble.
Now I'm just going to pour it into my ramekin dishes. Fill them up well.
Chocolate is always luxurious looking.
Isn't it? Such a lovely colour. There we are. Look at that.
This is going to be an incredibly rich
I know.
compilation. Yeah, that stuff's absolutely bang full of everything.
Every good thing you can think of. And I'm just going to put some water, hot but not boiling, around the bottom of this. And just pour it so it comes about halfway up. And this whole contraption is known as a bain-marie. Heavens knows why. It's a roasting tin with water in it. So I'm just going to put this in the cool oven of the Aga for about 30 minutes, perhaps a little less. You can look at it after 2025. Here we are.
I'm going to make what I call a Welsh rabbit souffle, which is a bastardized version of the proper Welsh rabbit, and the purists will say, oh, you know, but it's just different, and it makes it all nice and fluffy, and I think the children will like it.
Fluffy bunny, in fact.
A fluffy Welsh bunny.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably suitable for children. I think nearly all of them like cheese, unless the little wretches have developed an allergy. They all seem to have allergies nowadays, don't they?
It's fashionable.
Anyway, I grated some cheese, very, very good, mature cheddar, the real thing, with a lovely rind on it. It's not in any way comparable to that sort of muck you buy in cling film, looking like a slab of soap. Use this proper stuff. And we'll put all this cheese into a bowl. 4 egg yolks. Mix that in a bit. Rather like Clarissa, I think all these little children will be egg-bound by the time we've finished with them. Half a dessertspoon of dry mustard. Give it quite a good bit of flavour. And then a good dollop of French mustard. I suppose I'd better not make it too strong for dear little kiddiweeders, but I want some Tabasco in it.
Yeah, not too much.
No, not too much. They probably all eat chili chips or something anyway. And good old Worcester, of course. Time-honoured Worcester.
Hail!
Hail, time-honoured Worcester, hast thou, according to thine oath and ban, brought hither Hereford, thy son.
Yes, Jennifer, get on with the cooking. Cut the Shakespeare.
Now, we've got all that in there. Now, I've got these whites of eggs. Beat until stiff, enough to do that, you see? Then take a spoonful and just work that in. Then scoop in all the rest of the whites. You stir these in the good old manner of a figure of 8. That's all right, I think. And then you get these bits of toast. Now pile it in equal proportions. For heaven's sake, as usual, use good bread, not slimy white slice. Then spread it out, trying to cover the crust, because I'm going to put it into a very hot oven, and we don't want the crusts getting burnt on the edges. And if you cover them, they're dead. I think that's about fair. Give it a sprinkling of black pepper. There, now I'm going to put these into a hot oven, the equivalent of gas 7 or 8 even, because anything with the egg whites in needs a hot oven, otherwise it won't rise. This won't rise as much as a proper souffle, but it will be nice with a brown top. Ha-ha! They've got all crusty on top.
Yeah, they have a bit.
Will you brulee them now?
Well, not
No.
these ones, because they need to cool down. So I've
Yeah.
got some that I've had in the fridge. I'm going to take these out and get my cool ones.
Oh, have you got a fine salamander to brulee with?
Aha, no, we're into high technology. Ta-dam!
Oh, they're terrifying, those things.
It's a blowtorch. But first I've got to sprinkle them with sugar. Just ordinary caster sugar.
A fine layer.
Make sure it's all covered. But you don't want it too thick either. Otherwise you get this great crust of caramel that the poor little things won't be able to break.
They're quite hefty. Well, I suppose they'd be hungry little creatures,
They'll be
wouldn't they?
famished,
Yeah.
Jennifer. They'll be dashing around, throwing themselves on and off ponies all day, let alone the high tension of it.
Amanda's winning again.
Have you got a lighter on you?
Yeah, of course.
There we are, and away we go.
That is wonderful, isn't it?
Isn't it lovely? And let it caramelise. If you're at home and you don't have a blowtorch, you can, of course, use a hot grill, but make sure you heat the grill first, because otherwise you just put them in and they'll all melt and it'll be a horrible mess. And then they just go back into the fridge to chill, yes. Yeah. Well, I'll leave them to cool for a bit before I put them in. And then it all hardens up and you break it with your spoon.
Yes, that's the great fun of a brulee.
I've heard about this wonderful pig farm round here and I've wanted to go for ages. Can we go, please?
Off we jolly well go then.
This is the place.
What that dog?
I think he'll probably move.
Out of the way, dear.
He just missed him. What a lovely place.
Wonderful house.
Isn't it? Yeah. Well, I wonder where these pigs are.
Can you hear them?
Not a thing. But I think I can follow my nose. I think this way, Jennifer. Hello.
Good morning.
Morning.
Aren't they lovely, your old spots?
Well, yeah, they are old spots, and they are lovely. So that I can't do anything but agree with that.
But you're the great specialist for them, aren't you?
Well, I don't know. I've been around Gloucester spots a long time. That's you know, right back to sort of third generation back. That's as far as I know that had them.
Was one of them called John Watts?
John Watts?
Yes. Whose pigs are these? Whose pigs are these?
They're old John Watts. You can tell them by their spots. And they found them in the vicarage garden. That's right. I know that one.
They're orchard pigs, aren't they?
Gloucestershire song. Yeah, they call them orchard pigs because they used to feed, scavenge on the apples in the autumn, you see.
Delicious.
Run under the trees and, of course, you've got, you know, applesauce then already instilled into the meat, you see.
Weren't the spots supposed to be from the apples falling on their backs?
That's a story, yeah. Well, black and blue, you see. There's always a story with pigs.
What gives them such good flavour?
They're bred to grow at their own pace and do everything at their own pace because they say they won't be drove. Gloucester spots won't be drove.
What age do you butcher them at?
Well, they generally go somewhere about 22 weeks, where in a commercial unit where they're reared intensively and they've been bred to grow very fast and so of course don't get so much flavour, they would be getting them away at the same weights probably at about 18 weeks.
So should we just pick one up and put it in the boot?
No, I don't think that'd be very wise, would it? I could lift one of these anyway. They're not quite ready to go, actually. No, I think the best thing is to go down to the butcher in the Broad Street at Newend. He has my pigs, and he'll fix you up with the meat.
It's all making me hungry, all this. Come on, let's go and find some. Thank you so much for showing us your pigs.
Thank you, they're lovely.
Oh,
lovely to meet you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
One can never learn too young the benefits of mixing meat and shellfish together, so I'm going to cook a Portuguese dish, which is pork with clams. I'm going to start by grinding up some garlic with some salt in this pestle and mortar. There we are, there's a nice pulp of this. Spread this over the pork. Nice bit of fat. He was right about those Gloucester old spots, wasn't he?
Yes, it looks a beautiful piece of pork, real proper stuff.
If you don't have the opportunity of buying lovely pork like Gloucester Old Spot, make sure when you buy the pork that it has a good, nice layer of fat on it and that the meat is a good, clear pink. And now I'm going to paint it with some chili sauce. In this case, because it's a Portuguese recipe, piri piri sauce. Piri piri is the type of chili that the Portuguese have made their own. You can buy it in any decent delicatessen, and if you can't find it, then just use any chili sauce really, but not one of the sweeter ones, just a plain chili sauce.
They also have, always on the table, like we might have pepper and salt, they always have a little bottle of sherry, and it's all full of it's full of the piri piri berries, and they put it into soup and things.
How sensible.
Yeah.
Chili sherry. We'll make sure it painted all round, because it's going to sink into the meat and flavour it.
It looks good.
Doesn't it look good?
Yeah. Technicolor.
Right, there we are, all nicely painted. And you've got to leave this to stand for 24 hours, in case you think you're going to have an awfully long wait. Mother's little helpers have been very busy.
Mother's little helpers.
The elves, dear, the elves. Look at that.
It's all gone. It's all soaked in. That'll be delicious.
And I'm going to cut this into inch pieces. You want to leave the fat on, you see, and then when you fry it, it'll all crisp up. When I was a child, my father used to have pigs. He started keeping them during the war. And the first lot were just called ordinary names, and the children wouldn't eat them. So then the next lot he called Goebel and Goering and Rommel, and told them they were doing their bit for the war effort by eating them.
They're particularly happy to eat Jerry.
Oh, yes. And this is loin of pork. But if you don't have loin of pork, you could use leg of pork for this dish. There we are. Right, well, I'm going to take this off and fry it. And I'll take my clams with me at the same time.
I love that mixture. It's a marvellous combination. Now there are potatoes and potatoes, aren't there? I'm going to do a dish that I think will go extremely well with Clarissa's. It also goes very well with game or roasts. And it was taught to me by a great big Australian, so I call it Pete's Pommy Poms.
Pete's Pommy Pom de terre, surely.
Anyway, I think it's really delicious. Now, the essential thing for this is a mandolin. I'm very fond of using the mandolin. It cuts the potatoes very finely. And another tip is I've often seen people holding it that way, doing that. Well, it often slips like that, and you're liable to cut, start grating your knuckles into it. It's a great deal easier if you put it on top of a bowl, then you've got the pressure, and you just do that, you see, and it goes in very nicely. This is merely to show you I have a nice big bowl full underneath.
Do you think they're better than food processors?
Yes, I do, because this I can put on any bowl size I want. And in a processor, you have to keep turning them out and starting again. And what we'll do now is I want to get the potatoes dried off a bit. We don't want them sopping wet. So I put them in water to remove a bit of the starch. This is really the same beginning as dauphinoise potatoes. But they, of course, are cooked with large quantities of cream, not to be sniffed at, but this is different. Just pat them dry a bit. We don't want them slopping about the place. Now, get a nice little roasting pan and some very nice olive oil and put that in the bottom. Swished around a bit. Now, what we want to do is we want to put about 5 layers of potatoes interspersed with herbs, garlic, salt, pepper, what you will. So you get them and layer them quite nicely. These potatoes are ziri. They're quite good because they're rather waxy.
You want a waxy potato for that?
I think it should be slightly waxy because I don't want them to fall to pieces, which some do. There, you get a layer like that. And now I'm going to sprinkle it with a variety of herbs. I'll put some parsley, a few little bits of garlic, some sprigs of rosemary, and delicious fresh thyme, which gives a wonderful flavour. Now, a little salt. You do this every time. Every time you make layer, you do the same thing. And some pepper. Then more oil. A drizzle of. I think the finger trick is the answer. You can see how delicious this is going to be with all these flavours. These sort of potatoes, if you have an enemy or if you found somebody has parked very unpleasantly and locked your car in, do you know, there's a terrible thing you can do. You can stick a large potato up the exhaust, and when they drive away, they'll only go about 200 yards and they'll stop, and they won't know what's gone wrong.
Jennifer, it'll blow up the engine.
So they went to stop the car.
Sure, it'll blow up the engine.
But that's a naughty tale. You better not do it. These will all shrink, so don't worry about the pan getting rather full. They'll all go down into a lovely sort of roasted squash. There. That's the last of that. And then I'm just going to put in a little good stock, whatever good stock. Make it a nice fresh stock, be it only vegetable, just to dampen it so that it won't dry out. But in fact, when it's ready, I rather like it to be almost slightly burnt around the edges, sort of brown and crispy. And Bob's your uncle. I'll put it in a hot oven to begin with. It should take, I think, about 3/4 of an hour to an hour, but I'll look at it in half an hour. In you go. God be with you.
Ah.
Now then, ma'am, how's the clam?
Oh, they're just dandy, honey.
Oh, they look delicious.
Look, can you see that? All that nice pork. Now it's nice and brown.
Wonderful.
And I'm just going to put the clams in. So what I'll do first is just put in the rest of this coriander. I've been frying it in lard.
Oh.
Well, it's pork fat, isn't it?
Yes.
You can do it with olive oil if you must, but I think it's nicer with lard. And I've put in half the coriander and a bit of salt. I'm just going to put in the rest of the coriander. There we are. And now,
Clam time.
just put them in.
With a spit.
Make sure all your clams are closed and well washed, of course. And as the heat hits them, they'll open.
Yes. Does it look pretty?
And all the juice from the clams, of course, you want to meld in.
Once they've opened.
Look, lovely. There they go.
Opening up.
They really don't take long at all. And as soon as they're open, then the dish is ready for the table.
Just the sort of thing I like.
There we are. All opening up nicely.
Ravishing.
Well, if we get stuck for lack of horsepower, there'll be lots to push us. Look, Jennifer, chase bitch, aren't they? You see they keep following each other around until they drop out when they hit something. Morning.
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 Lovely day for him.
Yes, lovely.
Hey, it's the district commissioner again.
Hello.
How are you? Are these all your little children out
Well,
there?
they're not all mine, but one or two.
Look at them, they're wonderful.
Aren't they? Nothing, absolutely nothing, Jennifer, equals the passion of a small girl for her first pony.
You're telling me.
Nothing's ever the same again.
I think they're very brave.
Well, it's great. I mean, you know, you have a lovely time. You think what town children do in wet weather. You know, they just sit indoors and watch dreadful television.
Bliss.
We'd better be off, Jennifer. They'll be finishing soon. Cheerio. Come on.
Yes, we better go beautify the bar. Doodle, Pep.
Take that about! Take that about! Now! Take it!
First, second, or savoury course. Take your pick.
Educate your children's palate with this taste of Portugal.
Good crispy potatoes, good with game instead of chips.
A quick crack, then total heaven.
Look at it, William.
Jodhpurs, Jemimas, Gymkhanas, it's all frightfully British, Raj.
I wonder what happened to Archie. He got cashiered in Karachi, took the pig sticking in quite the wrong way. I wonder what happened to him. I think he's no card.
Probably. I'm glad I'm not a pony club mother, though. Can you imagine all that rushing around, keeping all those little tots on horses and things?
Total dedication, it seems to me.
Wonderful.
You have to get all the right clothes and the little ponies. Heaven knows what it all amounts to in the end.
Anyway, you're looking frightfully horsey in that headscarf, Jennifer. Quite like our own dear Queen.
I don't think she'd be too pleased with that, do you? Horsey.
Mm.
The little children were sweet. I have a feeling we may have poisoned them.
Why is that?
I'm not quite sure we gave them quite the right diet. Everything was very highly spiced. You're piri, and I'm heavily garlic potatoes. Everything. I think they'd all get the collywobbles.
Oh, well, we'll be long gone by the time they have to clean up the mess in the morning.
Long gone and quick.
Dear. Right, it's all very agreeable, these outings to the countryside.
You know my feelings about the country.
Well...
Cold and wet.
You know you enjoy it, really, even if it only gives you time to grumble when you get home.
You're very good health.
And yours. Have a sniff today. It'll warm you up.
I don't know what I'd do in the country. I'd just take to snifters, I think.
They're good hill, aren't they? Lots of polish.
Further information for these receipts can be found on CFAX, page 580. Grab that crab, Clarissa.
Eat that meat, Jennifer.
Why doesn't that feather look pleasant?
Fasten your taste buds.
For gastronomic ride.
Because us two fat ladies are itching up
To get into your kitchen. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Aha, Cambridge. So ravishing.
Not nearly as ravishing as the rowing crew we've been invited to cook for.
I believe they won this year's boat race in the fastest time ever.
Yes, and we're cooking their celebration dinner.
To the river.
Oh, look, a handsome oarsman. Lovely scenery.
Isn't that pretty?
Yes.
Cows and all. Look at that little boat. Tiny little boat. I couldn't fit my body in.
No, I suppose not.
Where are our beautiful young men?
I don't know, gentlemen. Well, at least they're expecting us. That's us.
But where are the people we're dealing with?
Not a leg in sight. I don't know. Very frustrating.
Hi,
ladies. Good to see you.
I'd love to see you.
Welcome to Cambridge.
With your wonderful boys, these little fellas. These little fellas.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your great victory.
Indeed, but we
Thanks.
expect it, don't we? I've always been brought up to think that Cambridge wins. It's all due to you, probably.
Oh, absolutely, yes. They don't get any credit. It's all due to me, yeah.
We must cook a great deal for these tiny little creatures.
Yes, I think they need feeding up. Which kitchen are we cooking it in?
The coach's kitchen.
Great,
Is it near?
wonderful.
It's just around the corner, actually.
Right, let's go.
Well, take you down.
Oh, this is looking up. Rabbit is that most neglected of creatures, and the recipe I'm going to cook is a dish involving both the fillets of rabbit and the leg meat, which I've cut from the rabbit, and which I'm simply going to mince. You can do this in a food processor, but you get a better texture from the mincer. And put it in a bowl and mix into it a single egg white.
I prefer the leg meat. I prefer it the rest, rather like chicken.
Well, you're going to get the benefit of both in this, John.
Juicier.
Juicier, yes it is. And it's a pity not to use the leg meat because, as Jennifer said, it is juicier and it gives a fuller texture. And quite a lot of pepper and salt. As I'm going to use bacon with this dish, I don't need to add too much salt. Depends how salty your bacon is. And then just mix it all together well so that it makes a nice paste. As I said, if you were doing this in a food processor, you just throw the whole lot into the food processor and go whizzy, whizzy, whizzy. And then take out your aggression. Look at that, isn't that a lovely thing?
A fine cleaver.
And flatten the fillets. One of the advantages of being as heavy as I am is if you put your weight into it, it doesn't take very long.
Terrible noise.
I know, I'm sorry about this, Jeff. They're wrapped in cling film, just to keep them together and stop them spreading too much. There we are, that'll do. And then you unwrap them, if you're lucky. I'm never any good with cling film.
Can I help you with my talons?
No, it's all right. There you are. Look at that, isn't that sweet? Rabbit is everything you ought to be eating. It's lean, it's fat-free, it's wild.
I think it's delicious.
That is the most important thing of all.
Very fond of bunny.
And the place is overrun with rabbits, so you're committing an act of social virtue as well. This is seasoned flour. It's just flour into which I put some salt and pepper and a bit of cayenne pepper and a bit of dried mustard. There we are, all beautifully floured. And then all you do is you take a piece of smoked bacon and you put it onto your rabbit, and then onto that you put a nice layer
of leg rabbit.
Yes, exactly. I don't know why people don't eat rabbit anymore.
There are three very good reasons. There's the fluffy bunny brigade, who say, oh, I couldn't eat a sweet little rabbit. And then there's the people who've had far too much rabbit stew. I mean, these would be older people who lived in the country during the war. And then, of course, there's the memory of that dreadful disease.
The mixed potatoes.
Yes, which put a lot of people off.
Just shape it nicely to the fillet. And onto that, I'm going to put some sorrel. Sorrel is a wonderful herb. It's what we used to use for the sort of lemon flavour before the citrus fruits came in from the Mediterranean. And it's actually full of vitamin C as well. You don't need to take out the whole backbone, but where there's a sort of tough bit of rib, just pull it out. Sorrel melts when it's cooking, and so it sort of melds into the dish. It's a lovely thing to cook with. If you don't have sorrel for this recipe, you can use sage leaves. There we are. And you put the other piece on top so that you have a nice little parcel.
Right, well, I'm going to do a vegetable dish which really can be eaten as a course on its own, as the French do. And it's peas cooked with spring onions and hearts of lettuce. Ideally, you have a huge kitchen garden where you get the youngest possible peas you can. Otherwise, you can use frozen ones, which I think the pea and the raspberry are the two success stories of the frozen world. And then, of course, they take very much less time to cook. But if you can get the real thing really young, it is absolute heaven.
What music hall singer was it? She sits among the cabbages and peas.
I've no idea. Vestatili or
That's
something
it.
like
That's
that.
exactly who it was. Well done.
Now, I'll get my saucepan with some melted butter. Quite a lot in there. Put the peas in. Then we'll put a sprinkling of sugar. That's always good for the flavour with peas. Some chopped up spring onions. That's very good with it. Now, what we want to make is a bouquet garni, or a faggot of herbs, as we call it here. a piece of butter muslin, but you can get in any reputable shop that sells materials, and you put in bay leaf, handful of thyme, and a nice bunch of parsley. That's all it needs, this one.
You wouldn't use one of those packet things that you can buy?
I would never use the packet things. They have no taste at all. They're like putting a packet of dust in. I mean, there's no point at all when you've got all these nice things you can put in. And none of this is difficult to get. I have time on my fire escape. It's been there for 3 years. Nothing ever seems to happen to it. So you can always have a pot of thyme. And bay leaves, you can always steal them off people's front doorsteps.
I can see it now.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are lots of bay leaves everywhere, no one knows anything about.
Jennifer Patterson arrested for bay leaf theft. I could put my wig back on and come and defend you.
I don't think anybody minds the odd bay leaf going. There, that's all you've got to do, nothing fancy. Tie it up and plonk it in. Touch of water, not much, because we want a sort of concentrated juice at the end. Then we want to put in these half chopped up hearts of lettuce. Any lettuce will do, but the little gems are quite a good thing. Pop those on the top. And a little salt. You can always add more later. Cover it up with a lid. And pop it on the stove. Stew it a bit until the peas are ready. They take quite a little time anyway.
Oh, hum.
Should I take that?
Yeah, could you? Thanks. Great.
These look lovely.
There we are. Thank you, dear.
There you go.
Too kind.
I'll go and shell more peas for those little boys.
Yes, I should think they'll want quite a lot. In here, I've got a pan of melted butter. And I'm just going to put into it some finely chopped onion. And you just want to let it soften, not to colour, just to soften down a bit. And very carefully, I'm going to put the rabbit parcels into the heat. Make sure at this stage that they don't break up at all. And you need to leave them to cook just to colour, really. Because of the egg white, it will seal itself together a bit with the heat. And then turn them over very, very carefully. And pat them back into shape if they've got out of shape at all. And just leave them to colour again the other side. And I'm just going to put in a good slurp of white wine. And you can use ale or beer or cider, in fact anything like that. But wine tends to be the thing one has most accessible. Let that come to the boil. And then cover it and let it cook for 10 minutes.
This whole thing, I think, is ready.
All right.
Now, I've got my peas and the lettuce and onions. They're making the most delicious smell. Wonderful. Now, we better take away our gruesome bundle of herbs. Then we'll drain these. But we want to keep the juice, because all the juices from the different things would have made it a delicious taste. So put it into another bowl. You see how pretty they look? The mixture of the colours is very nice. Shake it about a bit. Place them in a warm dish. Now then, we're going to add to the juices from the pan, guess what? Some cream. This makes a most delicious sauce. Needs some seasoning. Good ground pepper. Season to your own taste. No one knows what your own taste is except you. Swirl it around a bit. And pour over the accumulated vegetables. It's a wonderful smell. Eat it as a first course. It's really very good, especially for all these vegetarians. They can have nothing against it. Nectar for the gods, I think. I'm going to need some honey for my pudding, dear, but I'm a bit worried. There don't seem to be any flowers about yet.
It's a little early in the season, but I'm sure the Cambridge bees will try for you.
Isn't it funny how a bee likes honey? Buzz, buzz, buzz. I wonder why he does. Silly old fool.
Oh, look, there's somebody. Let's ask him.
Can I help you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello. We've come to get some honey.
Yes, well, there's plenty of honey there, but I'm afraid it's still in the hive.
Where do we go?
You go through the archway here and to the left along the grassy path through the corner.
All
But
right.
before you go, you will need this.
Now what?
A rustic spell, do you think?
Probably some jars. Do it yourself, you know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's chapeaux from Paris.
One each for you.
They
Good
look
Lord.
like lobster pots.
We have to wear all that?
I'm afraid so, yes.
Good Lord, our nuns never put all this stuff on.
Well, I should think they prayed.
Oh, we can pray.
Yes, I would advise both, probably.
I think so indeed.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Avanti.
Avanti, Savoia. Very bumpy.
Very. Yeah. Well, I think we're doing very well.
I can't see very well.
Just as well.
I feel like a fly. You know, with crisscross eyesight. Tweedledum and Tweedledee.
Hello.
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 Come to see my bees, have you?
Yes.
Indeed.
Want some honey?
Well, yes. We just thought we'd get a pot, really, but this is much more exciting.
Oh, yes, you can see how it's made. Look, it's all in here. The hive of industry, they call it.
Ah.
One talks to them nicely or something, doesn't it?
Hello, little bee.
And this is honey.
Heavens.
Fantastic. They're very beautiful,
Look.
aren't they? Wonderful.
And how long would it take them to fill one of those?
Sometimes they take a few days, sometimes weeks. It all depends on what the flow of the honey is like.
Do certain flowers give more?
Yes.
Yes. I'd like clover or apple or something.
Choosy, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes,
Very.
Lots of people are spoiled for by putting the wrong type of honey on it. The darker the honey, then the stronger the flavour.
I'd like fairly strong because I'm going to make a honey and cheesecake thing.
Yeah, that'd be ideal.
So what do we do now?
Well, what we do, we take these out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice one.
Yeah, you take that.
Whoops.
You're right.
There's another one.
Don't upset the bees.
No, don't want to do that. The smell of it. Amazing.
You can taste it later.
Yeah.
I'm rather fond of the wax.
Take the cappings all off.
Oh, I see.
Expose honey underneath.
Happy colour, this.
Isn't it wonderful?
There you are, see? It's all been exposed. And then when we finished it, we put it into this extractor.
There's no shortcut about making honey, is there?
No, it's very time-consuming.
Incredible, isn't it?
Should I hold it?
Yes, please.
Time for takeoff.
It's in here. We undo the little button.
It just
and
go.
here it
Ooh!
comes.
It's still got quite a lot of wax lumps in it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Just to be filtered now, and it's ready for the table.
I'm going to make a hearty Asturian bean soup as a starter for the rowers' dinner. This is a dish from central Spain. Madrid is the centre of the Asturias, and it's very good and typically Spanish. And I have here some haricot beans, which I've just soaked overnight and then cooked for 10 minutes. It's very important to remember to cook them for 10 minutes or so before you use them. Otherwise, you can give yourself quite nasty indigestion. And I've got this wonderful plate of assorted meats. I've got a ham hock on the bone. Very nice. And check with your butcher how salty it is, because sometimes they do need to soak. And some belly of pork. This is a piece on the bone. And some cubed belly of pork.
Delicious things.
I know, isn't it lovely? And this is a morcillo sausage. It's a Spanish black pudding, a Spanish blood sausage, although as you can see it's sort of quite red from paprika, as so many things in Spain are. You can buy them in good delicatessen. These are raw chorizo. They're not the sort that you have sliced into your sandwich at lunchtime, so they have to be cooked. Chorizos come in all shapes and sizes and different strengths. And you want to check what strength your chorizo is. These ones are really very spicy and muy picante. Muy picante. Notice the foreign lingo there, Jennifer.
Olé.
Because otherwise you might want to add some extra paprika, but I'm not going to because there's plenty there. Then I'm just going to pour in quite a lot of water. There we are. Look at that. And a bit of salt and pepper. This is a real Spanish peasant dish. To the stove.
Robust, robust.
And that needs to boil up for about an hour.
Now, I'm going to make a tart, a sweet tart. It's originally Greek, and it's made with ricotta cheese. It should be the Greek cheese, but I haven't got Greek delicatessen near me, and honey and spices, and you put it in a pastry case. This has got to be now blind baked. Now we put the paper there, and then cover it with a few beans, which will weigh it down. That'll stop it rising and being bumpy. And I'll put it aside because I'm going to chill it for a little bit. Pastry always likes that. Now, for the inside of the pudding, I have the ricotta cheese. Then we'll add some of our honey. About 3 tablespoons, but I'm just going to pour it. Now we've got the honey and the cheese there, we'll give that a bit of a mix. Now some beaten eggs.
When were you floating around in Greece?
I got a cousin who lives in Naxos.
Eh?
And I thought she lived in a castle, but in fact the whole place is called Castello. Mix the eggs all up. There, that's nice and fluffy. Now, what we want to do is add some cinnamon. About half a teaspoonful, which I should think is about 2 big pinches. Then a good squeeze of lemon, about a tablespoonful. That's about right. Never have too much lemon anyway. And we have the contents for our tart. Right, well, I've got a flan ready. You can see it's nice and flat from where the paper and the beans have been. So there's lots of room to put everything else in. Now I've got here a bowl of crushed walnuts, and we line the bottom with them. Make a nice sort of crunchy affair at the bottom. Now we pile the mixture in on top. Smooth it nicely. There we are, Bob's your uncle. Off to the oven. Couldn't be simpler.
While you're back there, you couldn't bring me back that pan.
Yes, of course. There, that'll take about 30 minutes. Isn't that wonderful? What a wonderful sight.
Treasures.
Black things floating on the top.
Now what I'm going to do is remove the cooked meat from the soup and shred it. Put the meat back. Just take the rind off the ham hock. Although the Spanish eat the rind, they love it.
I like the rind.
Well, you can have it.
It's like the pig's foot. Delicious. It looks most succulent.
It is. It's beautifully done. And of course, if you can get very little ham hocks, you can leave them in whole and just sort of pick them up and chew them as you would with a pig's foot.
Gnaw them.
What are you doing there anyway?
I thought I'd make a little fruit salad on the side for those boys because it's a rather tart one.
Oh, that'll be nice. Sure, they like a good tart.
Just for fun. I know they will eat forever.
Yes, bulk everything out. You must get lots of bread to go with this soup. And then you want to take out the sausages and slice them, because otherwise if you leave them cooking any longer, the skins will burst and they'll just disintegrate.
I like the look of those blood puddings. They look very exciting.
Wonderful. In Spain, they make blood sausages for Christmas. You go round and you have a blood sausage and a glass of sherry and try everybody's sausages.
Or cow's nose.
If you say so.
Yes, I had a cousin who was there once for Christmas, and in came this vast silver platter, and she thought, oh goody, you know, a lovely goose or whatever. Took it out. There was a large upturned cow's nose.
Good Lord.
Nostrils heavenward.
Glad I haven't come across that.
In San Sebastian. Perhaps it pertains to that region.
No, I remember being in Spain. My mother was adamant that we would have a turkey for Christmas lunch. And so she sent me off to the market to buy a really big turkey, which is impossible in Spain. And they provided this bird. I don't know what it was, but it sure as hell wasn't a turkey.
What was it?
I think it was probably some terribly protected species of bustard.
What did it taste like?
It's delicious. Mix that in with the beans, and then I'm going to add to it these potatoes, which I've just chopped.
This will make the hair on their chest grow, won't it?
And this cabbage.
An entire meal.
It is really. I mean, that's what it is. But I thought, you know, for the rowers, it would be nice to have it as a starter, because they need their grub. Mix that in as well. Right, and so this has got to go back to the stove for about another 20 minutes, half an hour, until the potatoes are cooked, really, so however long that takes. Those rowers said they were going to be training on the river. I think we should go and watch them. And I've been lent an aid for encouragement.
An aid de memoire.
Come on, Jennifer, on your right. Come on, let's go. Trot on.
Crazed with lust.
Gentlemen, we're going to start you. Set, go!
Wonderful sight.
Jennifer, they're going a bit fast. How are we going to keep up with them?
Get back on the bike.
Oh, yeah. Move those lovely legs. Keep your legs together.
They're all little Grace darlings to me.
Push harder. Hold the finishes. Put your bodies into it. John, stop using your head and keep it still.
You've got a college of less than 90 undergraduates each year, and yet you have something like 6 groups. That's not too bad.
2 Olympians amongst you.
Well, our college in charge.
Gentlemen, to the winners of the 1998 Oxford and Cambridge boat race, Cambridge, record holders.
A hearty starter for heroes or a main course for the rest of us.
You need the right crew. You need the right crew with an easterly wind and a giant tide. It was the
A
biggest.
sophisticated end from simple, rustic ingredients.
I hear the tide goes faster when in 2000. Really?
An exquisite mixture of summer vegetables.
And apparently they're going to bring out new blades, invisible blades, and long boats. And so that's the point that we did not.
Try this with a fine glass of pudding wine.
Speeches, aren't you? Some say you
Well, the ladies have done us proud, I think.
Those ladies are great. That's sub 6 minutes, almost certain. And there's no way it keeps it.
Well, it's lovely punting weather. La 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 la. I must say, it's the most beautiful evening, isn't it? Couldn't be more beautiful. This is when everybody from abroad falls in love with England.
Well, it's considerably less smelly than Venice.
Oh, that's a foul accusation. I lived in Venice for many years and it no longer smells. They have very good refuse boats that come round every morning and take your rubbish away.
Such beautiful young men, I must say. Don't get that in Venice.
A bit of a breeze. You certainly do. And what's this fine great building?
I don't know. What's that, Rob?
It's actually part of Clare College.
No, Clare?
Yeah. Named after a lady called Elizabeth de Clare, who was very wealthy because she was married and widowed 3 times by the age of 28.
Good heavens.
That's a good record.
Yeah. What did her husband die of?
Well, they all died mysteriously. She vowed never to marry again, actually.
Didn't need to.
No.
Shouldn't think she got many offers.
Founded Clare College with the inheritance.
Well, that was nice of her, wasn't it?
Good for her. You look very dashing in those sunglasses, I must say.
Aren't they good?
Make you look like a mafia don.
All I want is respect.
That's a fine thing. Further information about these recipes can be found on CFAX, page 580.
Grab that crab, Clarissa.
Eat that meat, Jennifer.
Why doesn't that pheasant look pleasant?
Fasten your taste buds.
For gastronomic ride.
Because us 2 fat ladies are itching
To get into your kitchen. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I can't believe you made me get up at the crack of dawn.
Well, as we're going to Lincoln's Inn, it seemed a shame not to pick up some beef from Smithfield. Wonderful old place, haven't been here for years.
Not since you were a barrister.
Do you think we come to St. Bartholomew's by mistake? This is all very clinical.
It's like little shops now.
Look, Absalom and Tribe, what a lovely name.
Good morning, ladies.
Hello.
What have you done? Where are all the carcasses?
Well, the carcasses are all behind there in our germ-free zone. Can't have it out in the open. BC regulations.
I want to see great sides of glorious beef. I need some to feed my barristers.
I can show you some in the old market.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Quick,
Come
let's
with me.
go.
Now, that's a fine sight.
Look at this, isn't this wonderful?
Well,
this is the
old
real
market,
thing.
ladies.
Yes, this is how it should be.
Yes, make the most of it.
Why?
They won't be here much longer. The EC have banned it.
No good ever came out of Brussels, but the odd chocolate.
Very true. Well, shall we wander on now and find some proper beef for you? Some good Scots beef?
Yes!
Yes!
Come on, then.
Look at this,
There you are,
Jennifer. Now,
ladies.
there's some good beef.
Best Scots beef.
Lovely.
And this is the bit you want for your barrister's dinner.
Oh, yes.
That's the fillet, running right the way through there.
Yes.
And we're going to get somebody to take the fillet out for you.
Great.
John, could you just take that and fillet it out?
Lovely
Thank you very
fat.
much.
Lovely
Well
fat.
done.
Very lovely. Look at that.
Yes.
Thank you very much
Thank
indeed.
you, John.
What a beautiful fillet. Well worth getting up at dawn for.
Right, and now we've got the rest of the day to enjoy. Right, turn into Queer Street, Jennifer.
They probably call it Gate Street now.
No, not that sort of queer. It's because the bankruptcy courts are here. Stop at the barrier and we'll look for the head porter.
I'll try not to. Scratch it.
No. Aha! Mr. Murrell, hello.
Good morning, ladies.
Mr. Murrell, where are your kitchens? We've come to feed your legal mind.
Take the third lamppost on the left, 100 yards on your left.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll bring you some pudding.
Thank you.
Thank you. You left here. This is Swiss chard, and sometimes people are afraid to buy it because they don't quite know what to do with it, but I think it's the most wonderful vegetable. And I'm going to do a dish which is chard with garlic and anchovies and olive oil. It's terribly simple, but it's absolutely delicious. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stalks. You see, I've got this nice, thick, white stalk. But if you try and cook the two together, they'll cook at different times. So what I need to do is to cook the stalk first. I'm just going to cut it into pieces.
Are they particularly Swiss?
No, they're beta vulgaris, actually. But apparently in the 17th century, the Dutch vegetable growers used to call any common variety of a plant Swiss.
I wonder why.
Well, maybe it was derogatory, or maybe they thought Swiss was common.
I think it's a perfectly delicious vegetable. I like these white bits.
And then you want to dice your garlic fairly finely, but with the anchovies, just cut them in half because they'll melt. You put them into the oil and they just melt down. Good. So I'm going to take this over to the cooker. Into the frying pan, I'm going to pour some oil. And then I'm just going to fry the chopped garlic and the anchovies until the anchovy melts. You will see it sort of dissolve before your very eyes. It's very important when cooking chard to remember to blanch it first. That is, you put it into boiling water for a few minutes, then drain it off. And you cook until it goes translucent. Once it is, I'll add the charred greens, but this will take about 10 minutes. So why don't you carry on, Jennifer?
Sure. I'm going to cook beef in pastry with various things wrapped round it. It can be called Wellington or Boeuf en croûte, but as we're in England, we might as well call it beef in pastry. Now look, you see, I have here this perfect fillet of beef, bought at dawn, I might say, at Smithville Market, but you couldn't get it any better. I marinated it first so that it will soak up some flavour. It's a strong marinade. It's got carrots, onions, bay leaf, thyme, all those goodies, as well as brandy and Madeira. And this imparts a very good flavour to the beef, because as we know, fillet of beef is delicious to cut, but it doesn't have much taste and it needs some help. And then afterwards, pat it dry and then seal so that it retains its shape. Anyway, I'll come back to it in a moment. First, I want to fry these mushrooms and shallots I've been chopping. I'm going to mix them with some pâté to spread over the fillet. I'll just get some Madeira.
If you don't have Madeira, can you use something else instead?
Oh, yes, if you run out of something, I substitute, like mad. You know, sherry or port, whatever you happen to have.
Fortified wine.
Fortified wine, but Madeira does have a very good flavour. You want to cook this until it's quite dry. You want all the liquid to go. That's quite enough of that, I think. There, this delicious mixture of mushrooms and Madeira, it's got the most wonderful smell. Now, what we want to do is add some respectable pâté.
What's a respectable pâté?
Well, you know, at least...
not your nasty cheap stuff.
No, not your nasty cheap stuff. This is chicken liver pâté. You put about 4 tablespoonfuls of that in, and the mixture of the chicken liver pâté with the mushrooms is delicious.
Smells glorious.
Mix it all up.
When they were lovely in Smithfield, they were so sweet. God, you think about it, you know, the Great Plague didn't get them, the Great Fire stopped south of Smithfield, the Germans didn't get them, they went on regardless of the Blitz. None of these things could destroy it, but takes dear little Brussels.
Now, I've got that lovely mixture, and what we'll do now, we'll get the pastry. It's quite a good idea to blind bake the bottom part, and I use short pastry for the bottom part. And what I've done was just laying it over one of those cooking tins and then taken it off. Because it makes a nice little boat to receive this.
How interesting and unusual to use short crust for the bottom. That's very good.
Well, I think because it gets a bit soggy. Flaky pastry gets a bit soggy on the bottom.
It does.
Now then, we've got our nice little boat here, and what we're going to do is we're going to fill it with half the mushroom mixture. Just slop it in, smooth it out, nice and evenly.
What's the difference between beef Wellington, beef en croûte, all of the rest of it, beef in pastry?
Well, I think they're all exactly the same. And strangely enough, I think it's called beef Wellington more in America. Though why, I don't know.
It wasn't called after the Duke at all.
No.
It was called after Wellington, New Zealand, apparently.
Oh.
They first invented the dish.
Ah, so it's got nothing to do with Waterloo at all?
No, although it has proved to be many people's Waterloo. I really fancied the Duke of Wellington when I was 12, 14.
I liked the Duke of Wellington. Do you remember when his portrait was stolen? No, you were probably too young.
No, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, he had such a good nose.
Yes, and other people much prefer, or they worship, Napoleon. I've never fancied him.
No, squitty little chap.
Squitty is the word. There, do you see how snug that is? Now we put the other lot on top. Apart from being delicious, having the pastry and the mushroom and the pate in it, it will make, let's face it, a very expensive piece of meat go a lot further. And it can be used hot or cold, or if you're being grand, you can be going to Glyndebourne. You can take it on a picnic, because it cuts very easily and is always, I think, always admired. At the top is going to be flaky pastry, puff. I've cheated it, I bought it. Now what we'll do is, this is the egg wash, and I shall paint around the sides so that the top pastry will stick convincingly. We don't want it coming apart at the seams. And I take it over, let that completely overlap, and roll it.
Wrap it up in a little blanket.
And then press it down so that it sticks to the egg wash. Now you just trim off the edges. I could be making dainty little leaves with the leftovers, but I'm not going to bother with all that fiddle-faddle. Just pinch the ends in. And now what we want to do is crisscross it, which will let a bit of the steam out, but don't cut into the meat, just through the pastry. And then finally, give it a good egg washing all over.
There, look at that.
Oh, they look wonderful. They look very exotic, don't they?
Yeah, they do look rather exotic.
Yeah, Chinesey.
What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put the greens in with them, just on top of the hot white bits, and cover it. And the heat from the stalks will actually cook the greens. They don't need very long. There we are.
Right, this is ready to be cooked.
Would you like me to put that in the oven for you?
Yes, that would be very kind of you. Put it in a very hot oven for about 20, maybe to 25 minutes, if you want it rare. If you don't want it rare, I wouldn't bother to cook it at all.
Well, you look as though you deserve a little relaxation now, so shall I take you on a cook's tour of the inn?
Oh, I'd love to see it, yes. That would be very interesting.
Right, let's go.
A cook's tour, indeed. Heavens, it's wide, isn't it? Wonderful.
Lovely, this crypt, isn't it? You know, the ladies of the night used to come and dump their babies in here.
How sad. Did someone look after them for them?
Oh, well, they left them for foundlings. And the benchers set up an adoption society. And all the girls got dowries and all the boys were given apprenticeships. And they were all called Lincoln.
That's very kind of them. All called Lincoln.
As their surname?
Oh, but yes, it'd be muddling otherwise. Hey, look, we're on someone. Here lieth the body of Rich Buddha. Sounds like a rock star, doesn't it?
No, look, he was a bencher of the inn. He was frightfully respectable.
I didn't really think he was a rock star.
Come on, I'll show you the old hall.
The old hall.
Cleared up a bit, isn't it?
A little bit of sun.
Well, just for a moment. And you see up here, Jennifer's the dining hall, and then that's the library building, the one at the far end with all the
That's
lions.
magnificent, isn't it?
Isn't it wonderful?
Look at these lovely lead things for the plants.
Peter?
Is that you?
Good heavens,
Hello.
Peter!
How very lovely to see you.
Sheridan, how
Haven't
lovely.
seen you forever.
No!
You're not back at the bar dressed like that, are you?
No.
Hello.
This is
Nice
Peter
to
Sheridan,
meet you.
leading
We used to be in
counsel.
chambers together one time, Clarissa and I. She smoked a pipe. Can you believe
Yeah, I'm
it?
sure.
And the clerks used to say to me, you know, can't you do something about this? You know, have you no influence with it? Try and get it stopped. Well, what are you doing here?
We're cooking a barrister's dinner. Would you like to come?
I'd love to come.
Do you remember those dreadful dinners we had to eat?
No, we used to have 36 dinners or something. I
God.
can't remember.
To
and
qualify.
you used to have to qualify. And that was in order to introduce everybody to everybody else, which is a lovely idea. It's a marvellous thing, but it's going out now. It's beginning to disappear.
I always thought it was that if your digestion survived the grazing port, in my case, then they thought you were competent to be a barrister.
Well, as a member of the Middle Temple, of course, I'm not allowed to talk about the food. I'm sure it's absolutely marvellous and always was.
Lovely.
What sort of time?
About 6:30.
Marvellous.
See you
I'll
later.
then.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. I've got to go to court.
Okay, good luck.
It's very nice.
Isn't it lovely?
Lovely.
This is the old hall where the Lord Chancellor used to sit.
This is magnificent, isn't it?
Good place for a party.
Be great. We could have a ball.
Yeah, well, they let it out now, I understand.
Should we have a ball?
Why not? Why not? Yes, I used to come to lectures here. Many the happy hour I used to sit in that alcove over there playing cards when I should have been listening to Roman law.
Naughty.
And that's the Hogarth.
Oh, great big picture, isn't it?
It's Paul before Felix. And you see his hand?
Yes.
Well, the Victorians had it repainted because in the original it looked as though it was grasping the Empress's breast.
Right across the room.
Yes. Go out this way.
I'm having fun today. I'm making an amusing pudding from that wonderful book by Filippo Marinetti. It's called Frago Mamelli, which means strawberry breasts.
Yeah.
And I find it very suitable on St. Agus's Day, which is February the 5th, because the poor saint had her breasts cut off in a terrible martyrdom.
Why?
Oh, one of those nasty emperors, you know, who didn't like Christians. You know that. Anyway, it's a sort of surreal pudding, but it is really rather pretty. What you do is you cut strawberries up small. I'll just finish these ones off.
He was a fascist, wasn't he?
Who?
Marinetti.
Oh, yes, almost bound to be. I wonder if he was vegetarian as well. There, now, here I've got a good pile of strawberries, about a pound. What you do is about a tablespoon of lemon juice. That's about it, I think. And a tablespoonful of caster sugar. Mix them up. Lemon goes very well with strawberries or raspberries, anything like that. Brings out the flavour. Now this should soak, marinate. Marinate for marinetti. Marinate for about an hour. Now what we want is fresh ricotta cheese, Italian cheese, and you know the mouli has 3 sieves. Use the smallest one. Then we'll put the ricotta in there.
What is ricotta? It's herd cheese, isn't it, really?
Yes, it's slightly like cottage, isn't it?
But not that horrid cardboard texture.
No. Shove that through, which goes through very happily and easily. Look, lovely little worms.
That's extraordinary it looks.
Now we want to add 1/4 pint of thick cream.
Have you whipped it, or is it very thick?
It's a bit whipped, because I want it to sort of stand up. Then lovely Campari for the colour and for the taste. 3 tablespoons about.
So nice to find something else to do with Campari.
Why?
Well, I mean, in the days when I used to drink it, you know, all I could ever think of it as was a hangover cure.
I love it, but I like it in Italy, you know, in a hot square or something like that. Not on the cold English day. It doesn't go at all. Look how pretty they are, you must admit.
Oh, isn't that a lovely colour?
Very delicato.
A maiden's bosom.
Now we've got sifted icing sugar. 4 or 5 tablespoons according to your sweet tooth. Mix them all up again. And into this, we'll put all the strawberries.
What size breasts? I mean, is it Dolly Parton or Twiggy or...
What cup size?
What cup size, yeah.
Coffee cup? To receive these charming little breasts, think pink.
Very recherche, that plate.
Isn't it wonderful? Now, let's see what we can manage. We'll make one little mound here. Try and keep it all in one place. And then with my little scalpel, is it a scalpel?
No, it's a palette knife. Don't get carried away, Doctor.
We get this and coat it in it, so that you can't see any of the strawberries. Then they get the lovely surprise inside. Do this for at least 3 hours before you're going to eat them, because they'd like to be in the refrigerator to firm up and become pert. You could have any sized nipple, but I think the little wild strawberries are the most charming. I think that's rather sweet.
Oh,
There you
yes,
are.
very sexy.
Sweet. Now I'll continue with another one, and Clarissa will make something delicious of a different mould.
What I've been doing is flaking the meat off a salmon into this bowl, and I'm going to make a salmon mousse. And this is a Swedish one, and it's quite interesting, because in it, it's got blue cheese. See, I've got here a lovely piece of dolciolata, and I'm just going to crumble the cheese into it.
In the salmon mousse?
Yeah.
How extraordinary, I've never heard of that before.
Well, you know, if you're using farmed salmon, it doesn't have as strong a flavour as wild salmon. And for a salmon mousse, you don't want to spend a fortune on wild salmon. So the cheese just gives it that added oomph.
I think it's a frightfully good idea. I love dolciolata anyway.
Yeah. And some cream cheese. And a good slurp of sour cream. I'm just going to mix all this together. You've got to distribute it well through the fish. Look at that, lovely. And then some chopped gherkins. Very fond of gherkins, the Swedes are.
I love gherkins.
Well, you don't look Swedish. And now I've got some gelatin. You can probably risk it without, but if it's going to be standing out anywhere warm, it's better to have it firmer with gelatin, and especially if you're going to put it in a mould. And here I've just got some ordinary packet gelatin which has been dissolved, and I've been keeping soft in a bowl of warm water. But you can, of course, use lovely leaf gelatin.
Isn't it pretty?
Isn't it lovely? It's magic.
Like little windows.
Yes. I tend to use leaf gelatin for clear jellies and things like that, and just use the ordinary packet stuff for messy things. There we are. Mix that in, and mix it in quickly before it has time to sort of set into lumps. There we are. Bit of salt and pepper. And some dill, good sprinkling of dill. The Swedes love dill. They have dill with almost anything. And to give it texture, I've got chopped onion and finely chopped celery. There we are, mix all that well in. And I've got here some whipped cream.
Ah, good.
More cream.
More cream.
And a good squeeze of lemon juice. There we are, mix that in. Must be thoroughly mixed, but don't mash it. Be careful not to mash it. You know, you want to keep your textures. Don't forget to taste for seasoning. And then, look.
Oh, a beautiful fish mould.
I know. You can, if you want, have a sort of whole shoal of little fishes, you know, 5 loaves and 2 fishes or something. But I'm going to do it in big ones with this. And then just spoon it in. Fill it properly. Press it down well so that you don't get air bubbles, because that'll cause problems when you turn it out. Get it well into all the sort of cracks and crevices. Oh, are you going to the fridge?
Yeah.
You've got a spare hand?
The fridge here, it's wonderful. It's a room.
Well, you may be some time.
Maybe sometime.
If you don't come back, I'll send out a St. Bernard. And now I'm going to make some cucumber sauce to go with it. This is very simple. All I've got here is some cucumber, which I've left stand for half an hour with a little white wine vinegar and some chives and some salt. Drain off the liquid. There we are.
Another sickly pink.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I'm just going to put some sour cream into it.
Oh, good, more cream.
A bit more dill for colour. Mix that all in. Leave it stand. And on with the next mould.
Everything was on the wrong side. It was a 1956 bag. With the proper black and gold vestments.
Drinking good. Jennifer, we ought to be getting back.
Oh, sorry.
Leave these lovely people to their dinner. Take care. We'll be in touch. Won't leave it so long. Right, goodbye, everybody.
Bye now. See ya.
Leave you to your, I hope, excellent dinner.
And thanks for the cooking.
Enjoy your pudding.
I shall love it.
Phew, Jennifer, well, I hope they enjoy their dinner. Let's go and put our feet up. This mousse is great for a picnic by a Swedish lake as well as a formal dinner.
Make a sauce with the marinade to enhance this regal beef.
Yeah, we can wait. But because I'm a second six, just you realise how long you'll have to wait.
Nothing common about this dish.
Does that mean no money? Because I've been doing work every day. No, you're joking. Have you filled your form in? You are joking.
I'm still owed money by the Metropolitan Police solicitors for work I did in
Make a clean breast of this pudding.
before the CBS started.
That's heard enough. I've heard enough. I'm leaving.
£30 ago.
We're not leading conversations.
Did you ever fancy being a barrister?
Yes, I think I would rather have loved it. I love sort of saying things like, "My lord, my client," all those sort of things. They make those extraordinary remarks, like that lovely one I adore. What are Diana adores?
And there was a lovely F.E. Smith one where the judge said, "Mr. Smith, what is a sardine?" And he said, "A sardine, my lord, is a small fish canned in oil and eaten with great relish by the lower middle classes."
Lovely point taken.
Yes, I think I'm quite glad I gave up the law books for the recipe books.
It was very well worth seeing all that goes on here. New to me, not to you.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I think they had a lovely time with our dinner, really.
Yes, just sort of things they like.
Come on, my learned friend.
Oh, very good health.
And yours.
No.
Further information about these recipes can be found on CFAX, page 580.
They're on the road again next Wednesday at 8:30, and Strong Opinions coming next on BBC Two.
Grab that crab, Clarissa.
Eat that meat, Jennifer.
Why doesn't that feather look pleasant?
Fasten your taste buds
for gastronomic ride.
Because us two fat ladies are itching
to get into your kitchen. Yeah.
Oh, yes. wonderful to be in Scotland again and so close to home for me.
Here we are, East Fortune Airfield.
Fortune favours the bold, and very apt for pilots in our air race.
Which way now, dear?
Well, we're looking for hangar 2. I think it's at the end of this piece of road. Turn left here. Should be just ahead, I think.
Did you hear a noise?
Right, well, I'd drive into this hangar and see if there's anyone about.
That's all
look.
right.
It's a dashing pilot working on an engine. Hello.
Hello.
Morning.
Are you connected with this air race that's taking place?
Yes, I am. I'm the air race organiser.
Is it going well? How many planes have you got?
Yes, it's going very well. We've got 6 airplanes. We've got the Yak 52, which is the airplane I'll be flying. 1940 Cub, which is done up in invasion colours.
Oh, takes me back. I remember the massing in the skies for hours and hours over Hampton Court before they went off in a great sweep.
Okay,
very exciting.
Just calm down, dear. Yes.
And there's a Magister, which is a 1940 trainer.
Oh, is that open one?
That's right, yes, open cockpit.
Oh, I wouldn't mind to go in that. They're very dashing.
Be wonderful. Enough of that. We've got to find this place to cook.
Yes, of course. All right, you're going to cook for us.
Yes.
It's on the other side of the airfield. I'm afraid it's quite a distance.
It's all right.
Can I come with you?
Yes,
do.
absolutely. Why not?
All right, pillion, great stuff.
Chocks away. Stand by for takeoff. Here we are. This must be the place. I once worked for a wonderful woman who was completely addicted to chocolate, and during my time cooking for her, I had to learn to adapt all my puddings to the chocolate variety. So what I'm going to make today is chocolate snowballs. You've all heard of œuf à la neige. Well, this is the chocolate version. And what I've got here is some egg whites, which I've just been whipping stiffly. Excellent for the wrist muscles to whip your egg whites by hand. Strengthens the wrists splendidly.
Actually gets more air in too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Than the electric thing.
There we are. So all I'm going to do now is take this over to the stove and poach it in some milk that has just come up to simmering point. No hotter, don't let it boil.
Is it just ordinary milk, or have you shoved a vanilla pod or something?
No, just ordinary milk, buttered, real full cream milk.
So I should hope.
Take a couple of nice large spoons. It's a sort of quenelle technique, this is really. And you just...
You're going to go plop.
I am indeed, yes. Just put them onto the milk.
Beautiful.
Float about. You can just do this with one large island, but I think it looks nicer with sort of smaller islands.
It's great the way they do float.
Isn't it? Magic. Yeah. There we are. All you have to do is just cook them until they're set on the bottom, and then you can turn them over. Well, I've got several more of these to do, so what are you chopping there?
I'm having a treat. I'm chopping dill. I love dill. And I'm going to cook that lovely piece of salmon. I'm going to roast it with the addition of scallops. In melted butter, lots of dill, and 2 great spoonfuls of mustard, grain mustard, you know, like Mo. So we've got our lovely dill, which do try and get the fresh. It does make an enormous difference, actually. I don't think dill dries all that well, but if you have to use dried dill, use about half the quantity, because it will swell up. Now, also, you can grow it on the fire escape. It comes up and self-seats itself. I was delighted to find last year. Here I've got a nice little saucepan full of melted butter. We'll add that. Now we have 2 great good spoonfuls like that of the Mo mustard, or any grained one really, but not too strong, because sometimes you can get a very strong one, and then everybody weeps. I've always been a bit muddled about the Bible story, about the mustard tree starting as the smallest and then growing into a huge tree, and the birds of the air rested therein. I don't know what sort of mustard that was.
Black mustard.
Black.
It's a different type of mustard. It's only found in sort of India and the Far East.
Oh, I see. Well, there we are. We've got that ready. And we'll pour it over our salmon. Smooth it all over. Look how beautiful it is.
That looked lovely, yes.
Looks like a monster from the deep, emerging from a bed of seaweed. The kraken wakes, whatever the kraken was. There we are. Now I'm going to pop this in the oven. And for heaven's sake, let's not overcook it. About gas 8, equivalent to a hot oven, 450F, I think. Got to cook some more anyway, when I put the scallops in.
Well, I've got to get on with the custard bit now, the chocolate bit. And in this bowl, I've got 6 egg yolks. Look at that lovely colour yolks, aren't they? And I'm just going to meld them about a bit. And then into it, I'm going to put 2 ounces of sugar. Mix that all in. And here I've got a dear little double boiler with some hot but not boiling water underneath. And in it, I've got some melted chocolate. And I'm just going to mix the egg yolks and the sugar into the chocolate.
It's a dear little memory thing, isn't it?
Isn't it? Sweet. I love them. I collect them whenever I see them. They're so useful.
Yes, I was looking for one for you the other day in a country fair, a sort of antiques place, and I thought, now I must look for a porringer for Clarissa. I'd like to find you a really little one.
That would be sweet, wouldn't it?
For tiny sauces.
And here I've got my milk, which I've strained off, and it's just cooled slightly. And I'm just going to take it over to the stove and make a custard with it. I just want to let it thicken until it's the consistency of thin cream, really. And just keep stirring so that the chocolate mixes through. You can see the colour changing.
Now, these are very fine scallops. Good old Scotland again. I've got the king size and the little baby queens. And what I'm going to do is separate the corals, which is their roe, from the main scallop. Just pull it, and you've got this membrane, and it peels off very, very easily. Then you've got the little white scallop there. These pretty, pretty shells.
We could pin them on our hats and go on a pilgrimage.
What, to Compostela?
Oh, yes, I think pilgrims just wore scallop shells. It was a sign of a pilgrim.
It was their sign. The pilgrim staff, the pilgrim shell. Merrily we'll avoid hell, or something like that. Now, I've got these littlies, and they've only got a tiny little bit of coral on them, of course, but you can just pull it off. Some people think these are little baby scallops, but of course they're not. They're a completely different variety, you know. They're the sort of pygmy, the little pygmies of the scallop world. You wouldn't catch Venus coming up in one of these shells. She'd be a pocket Venus.
Oh, so witty, so witty.
Nah, I think that's about right. We do not want overcooking. Now, what we do is just arrange the scallops daintily around.
It smells good too.
Is it a very good sauce?
Mm.
Luscious. Just see that they're all coated. Now, I'll put them back, but really only for 5 minutes. Wash it like the hawk, answer no telephones. There you are, hey presto.
There I am, look at my
They're
sweet
pretty.
little floating islands. Aren't they pretty?
They're wonderful.
They go rather nicely on the chocolate sauce, don't they?
You're after a bit of venison, dear, aren't you?
Yes, off to the Highlands to see my friend Nicola. She runs a venison farm. Careful here, very tight corner.
There it is.
Yep. That's it.
Bit of a skedaddle.
Yep. That's right, off we go. Ah, here's Nicola now. Hello, Nicola.
Clarissa.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
Yes, and you, Jennifer Patterson, Nicola Fletcher.
Good morning. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to see you. Welcome. What can I do for you?
Well, we've come to see if we can take some venison off you.
Ah, right. Well, I think I'll find something for you.
Just the odd haunch.
For the odd pilot.
Okay, well, I was actually just going up to feed the deer. Would you like to come see them?
Love to, yes.
Good.
Magnificent they'll be.
This is a field of mixed sex yearling animals. So these are our venison mob. So they're not such individuals as the big stags.
Oh, look, here they come.
Yes, look at the legs.
Right the way across. Woo! Terrific.
Not a noise, do you?
Like a scream. Isn't that strange?
They look beautiful.
Like the wildebeesties. They give birth on the run.
Surely not.
Yes, they do. I've seen, you know, Sandra stuff. Out they come, pick themselves up, and away they go.
Would you like to go and we could see if we could get the big stags to come and say hello, and you might be able to feed them?
Oh, I'd love it.
Like that?
Yes.
They're rather handsome at this time of the year.
Yeah.
We'll go and see.
Beautiful. With it dressed in velvet.
Dressed in velvet, yes.
It's all right, Jennifer. It's not the rut yet. Jennifer gets a little anxious about the rut.
No, I'm not anxious. I'm fascinated.
This is Magnus, our stockman.
Hello, how do you do?
Hello.
Morning.
Howard. Howard.
Barrister, would you like to feed one?
Yes.
He's behaving reasonably well.
That's extraordinary.
Good lad. I wouldn't be doing this in
No,
6
no.
weeks' time.
I mean, how fast do those antlers grow?
Oh, they're incredible. They shed their old antlers in sort of March, April, and immediately start growing the new ones. So about 3 months to grow that lot.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, I think it's the fastest growing mammalian tissue, so I'm told.
What do you do with the ones that fall off?
Oh, a nice man comes and takes them away, and they get turned into knife handles and buttons and pepper pots and all the usual things.
No, if you would reach up here, maybe just grab hold of that and you'll feel the heat.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause that's...
He's going to get you.
Yes. Atta boy. Take your time. Take your time. That's a good boy. Good boy.
He's got a hair on his chinny chin chin.
A bit like myself.
One long hair.
He needs a shave this morning.
Aren't they magnificent?
Handsome creatures.
Aha, look at this.
Ah, that do?
That's brilliant.
Is that odd enough for you?
Oh, yes, that's great. Look at that.
Good.
Well, thank you
Managed?
very much indeed. Great to see you. See you
Thank
again soon.
Hope
Very
so.
nice indeed. Thank you
Well,
so much. You're
Enjoy
sweet.
cooking that?
Yes, I will. I just strap it to the bonnet.
Venison is probably the first meat that man ever ate, and there's a lot of it in Scotland. And today I'm going to make a venison pasty. And I've got here some haunch of venison. You can use shoulder or best end of neck for this dish, which I've just cut into collops, little sort of statelets. And I'm going to just flour them in seasoned flour. Very important with venison, you see that sort of muscle. When you cut open a piece of venison, there's muscle running in strands inside it. A friend of mine refers to it as knicker elastic. It's quite a good name for it. It looks exactly like sort of failed knicker elastic. And you just want to cut that off because it goes very stringy and horrid if you leave it in. But it's wonderful if you put it in when you've cut it off in a dish in the bottom of the Arga, you get the most delicious stock from it. I remember we used to get sent a haunch by some Scottish peer who was a patient of my father's. They used to ring up and say that it was coming. And my mother used to say, right, well, we've all got to pray for cold weather now.
To keep it?
Yeah, because it used to come down on the train, just in some sort of bag made out of woven rushes with a bit of bog myrtle to keep the flies away. And if it was hot weather, it got quite whiffy.
Awful. What did you do?
Well, I remember one year that it was so high that she thought she wouldn't tell my father it had come. And so she buried it in the garden.
I've heard that people do that to venison. They bury it in the cellar until you can see a sort of phosphorescent glow coming out of it, and then they reckon it's ready to eat.
Extraordinary things people do. Right, well, there we are. I'm just going to clear my station.
A fine amount you have there.
Well, you know, I expect those lovely pilots will be hungry. All that intrepid flying about the place. Looping the loop. There we are, just a bit of butter. You just want to brown them lightly. You don't want to cook them. I mean, the thing with venison is you either cook it for no time at all or you cook it for a long time. Anything in between really is too tough for words. What's that mush you're playing with?
Lovely, lovely. Poor man's caviar. Doesn't look all that appetising at this moment. But what I'm actually going to do is stuff lovely red peppers with aubergine. You could, I suppose, do it the other way round, but this is what we're doing today. And what you do first of all is you get your aubergines, melanzani's, eggplants, and roast them in the oven till they're nice and soft. Then cut one end off, slit it down the middle, lift it up, and scoop it out. There we are, get all that stuff on the side. You want to keep the black skin off it.
I suppose it's eggplant because of the white aubergine, is it?
The original aubergine was a little white thing, like that. And then I don't know how they got it to get coloured, but that's why they called it an eggplant. Anyway, I've got this now, and I've chopped them up a bit. I'm going to puree them in this ravishing little blender. Looks like a ray gun.
Oh, it's wonderful, isn't it? It's a real sort of antique.
And we'll add some garlic, natch. I put it in pudding if it was feasible.
Yeah.
Bit of salt. A good squeeze of lemon. Aubergine loves lemon. Actually, I think every vegetable does. Some parsley. Quite a lot, but leave a little for sprinkling later. Now, lovely olive oil. A good slurp. I think that would do it. Now, everybody pray that it works. I think it will, dear little thing. And whiz. Come on, dear. Right, that's done enough. I'm going to de-seed these peppers like that. I'll show you. It's very simple. I'm sure you've done it before. Well, you cut them in half. Get rid of the pith and any seeds.
Such a lovely colour, red peppers, aren't they?
Yes, and they're marvellous now. Look at all the different shapes. They're not all those uniform, terrible things with no taste. These are proper ones, grown, I think, in the good heat of Spain or somewhere.
It was lovely in Hungary, driving around, seeing them all hanging up to dry.
Oh, they look wonderful, like wonderful flaming lanterns, don't they?
Yes.
Let me get rid of those now. I've got some in the oven, wouldn't you guess? So I'll show you. Sprinkle them with a little oil, and I bake them for about 10 minutes just to soften them before I stuff them. Come on, dear. There we are. Now we'll fill them. Put a nice little mound in each. You see, they look very, very pretty and tempting.
Oh, nice colour contrast, isn't it? Look, Here's all my lovely sealed, luscious pieces of venison.
It's smelling delicious, buttery and venison-y.
And now I'm going to add some different seasonings to it, just to tell it's an 18th century recipe. Here I've got some grated nutmeg, which I'm going to put in, and some thyme. Look at this nice thyme. And all you need to do is to strip the leaves off the stalks. You can put the stalks in, but the trouble is that they go very sort of stringy and nasty. And a good dash of port. Give it a bit of body. I don't know, people don't sort of sit down to port after meals like they used to. I think the feminists have killed the port trade.
Well, I certainly hope not. I've got a lot of friends in Porto. I used to live there. I knew all the port people. They were extraordinary. Some of the old diehards had the shakes so badly. Let me show you. To get their glass up, they'd put a napkin round their neck, and they'd grab the glass, and they'd pull it up to drink the port.
Good Lord! Amazing. Why did I never think of that in my shaking days?
Amazing.
And here I've got some good game stock. This is actually venison stock. And some pepper. And quite a bit of salt I like. And just to lift it, a good squeeze of lemon juice. And because venison is a very dry meat, I'm just going to put some little knobs of butter over the top of it before I put the pastry on. There we are. And now I've got, this is puff pastry, but you could use short crust. I'm just going to roll it over the top. There we are.
Are you going to make dainty leaves to cover it?
Traditionally, you have a pack of stag hounds and a running stag.
I was going to take a bit, make a doggy.
Well, there you are then.
Yeah.
And then you just wash the top with an egg wash.
Not a very good doggy.
No, not very. Oh, well, let's put him on anyway. There it is. Yes, great.
Perhaps my dog will grow.
There we are. I'll give him a little glaze too, shall we?
Yes, he may come up a treat.
He made it lovely when he done. Yes, great. There we are. Right. Well, I've got to put this in a hot oven for 15 minutes and then put it in the lower oven. And then we could go and watch the air race. Well, here we are, back again.
Hello there.
Hi there, nice to see you again.
Did you get back safely?
Yes, I did, thank you.
Did you hitchhike or something?
No.
He flew.
That's it, by airplane. We think we've got a spare seat for the air race. Wondered if you'd like to come along.
Oh, yes, please. That would be great.
Not to be left out, Jennifer, would you like to come along with me?
Oh, yeah, I'd love it. I'd adore it. Yes, I've never been in one.
OK, it's a deal.
Is it entirely fair, though?
We have a handicapping system, and 2 people in the aeroplane doesn't make that much of a difference.
Well,
to the aeroplane
some of us are
performance.
not as thin as others.
It's based on the aeroplane's true airspeed, so superior airmanship will determine the day.
Absolutely. I'll speak to someone up there.
She's a terrible handicap.
Lift these bits to slacken them off, so you're nice and comfortable.
Good, I'm so glad. I feel like a trapped pig.
Well, the weather's looking a bit foreboding.
It is. We can do about 100 miles an hour in this. We'll get away from this pretty quickly.
Oh, great. And win the race as well.
And if you keep your feet off the pedals, that's the rudder pedals there.
Oh, my God, where'll I put my feet?
Bring your feet back a bit.
Hazardous, dear, hazardous.
Neil, there's only one slight problem.
Yeah?
Why am I sitting in the front? Am I driving?
Yes, there's a better view from the front.
OK, and here's your headset. And the mic up close to your mouth. And you know about the...
Can't hear you now.
OK.
What?
Right,
right, let's go for it.
Right.
It'll show Jennifer.
If the engine does fail, we'll land in a field or on the beach.
Hey, let's go to the beach.
Here we go, Jennifer. Just waiting for the starter.
What's that yellow peril? Give a full throttle. Give it all you've got. Really tight, Neil, really tight. Home stretch, let it rip. Yes, come on, Neil. Yes, yippee, we got on. Porca miseria, they've got there before us.
That's a chipmunk that does that. Congratulations, Neil.
Thanks
Very well done.
Thanks very much.
Who was the handicapper?
I'll give you the book, Steve. We've got.
Add piquancy to the now common salmon.
The way to every Highlander's heart, let alone a pilot's, with this dark and luscious pasty.
A beautiful, succulent vegetable dish, or as a starter.
Towering icebergs on a chocolate sea, every chocoholic's Titanic.
The best plane in the air, of course, was the Spitfire, but they weren't much good on the ground. It's like having the bonnet of your car up.
Very exciting going up in those aeroplanes. I know. I loved it. Yeah, you won.
Yes, my plane.
I'm afraid I got Harry Wooders.
Harry Wooders?
Harry Wooders, the wooden spoon.
It would be good for the kitchen day. Anyway, useful to have a wooden spoon. You think we ought to learn to fly now and give up the bike?
Yes, we could have a nice little a little sort of biplane thing, couldn't we? That we can look out of.
I was actually thinking of the ease of arriving at cooking sites. We
Oh,
could just sort
wouldn't
of
it be nice?
hop over the fence in one of those little cubs or something
Yeah,
like
we
that.
could. Anyway, you're very good health. We've done it again.
Winko.
Harry Chockers.
Frightfully biggles we are. Further information about these recipes can be found on CFAX, page 580.
Is it possible for a vegan to live with a livestock farmer?
Grab that crab, Clarissa. Eat that meat, Jennifer. Why doesn't that pheasant look pleasant?
Fasten your taste buds
for gastronomic ride.
Cause us two fat ladies are itching
To get into your kitchen. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Well, now, dear, are we in England or Wales?
The bloody marches, poised between the two. We're headed for a lock on the Canal.
I love canals, but they always look a bit too much like hard work. All those locks to navigate.
Not when you've got lockkeepers like Les Molyneux to give you a hand. We're cooking a celebration meal for his father. Here we are.
My, that must be a powerful bike to bring you two young ladies up there.
Are you casting aspersions?
Come on, meet my father.
Hello.
Hello, how do you do?
Mr. Molyneux, how do you do?
How do you do?
Does lockkeeping run in your family then?
It does indeed. Yes, we've been doing it for a few years now.
How long has your father been at it?
I had 32 years on the waterways.
Good heavens!
Good Lord. Just
And now you've taken over?
I've taken over.
Great.
Stepped in his old shoes, like.
Do you cook yourself, Mr. Molyneux?
No, wife does that.
Where?
When she's at home,
Where is she?
in Blackpool.
She's gone on a spree.
Before you get caught in the rain.
Yes, it's getting to rain. We better go to the kitchen.
This way to the kitchen, round the back, help yourself.
Right, well, we're going to cook you something smashing.
Oh, very good.
Right, see you later.
See you later.
I'm going to make a dish that was invented for the slaves, I suppose, in the deep south. It's called Hopping John. One has to be very ashamed about it. In fact, I think my family on my mother's side had something to do with it. They were Bristol merchants, you know, and they dealt in rum and slaves, I have a horrible feeling.
Rum, sodomy and the lash.
Well, that's the Navy. First of all, I've got this salt bacon, or salt pork if you can get it, and I've just cut it up into little chunks, like that. Then take it over to cook it. This is very hot, this Aga. Beware. Now, I've got a little oil in the pan. Pop the bacon in. These need to fry a little bit, not too much, because we're going to do quite a lot of cooking with them. Oh, goodness, it doesn't matter how many times I do it. I just love that smell of frying bacon, don't you?
It's wonderful, yeah.
I think this was a great treat to have a bit of pork. I'm sure they didn't give them much pork. Beastly so-called Christians treating people unbelievably badly. Now I'll add some onions. You must stir around. And some garlic. You want to cook these until they're softish but not too browned. Some fresh thyme. There we go. And a good pinch of cayenne. They're just browning. So I will add the beans. Now these I've soaked overnight and then make quite sure that they boil fiercely for a good 10 minutes and then simmer them for about an hour. There she blows. Then we add some skinned, de-seeded tomatoes. Now we have the beginning of our Hopping John. Stir together, then we leave it for about 20 minutes. While I go over and deal with the rice, which I shall add subsequently.
I'm going to make a dish called Burnet's Woodcock. In fact, I'm doing it with pigeon on this occasion because it's the wrong time of the year for woodcock. And I've just been putting these potatoes through a ricer. It's a very good way of making sure that the potatoes are properly mashed and you haven't got any lumps in them. And into it, I'm going to put some double cream, an egg yolk, and some capers, which I've just chopped. And mix this all in. You have to make sure that the potatoes dry off very well. Leave them to stand after you strain them before you mash them. Don't touch them till all the steam has come off them. And now some stiffly whipped egg white.
Really?
Yes.
That'll be good. It'll make it rather like a souffle, won't it?
Well, you know, it gives a bit of lift. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make some potato cakes with them. And just fry them brown. And then when the pigeons are done, I'm going to stand the pigeons on top of the potato cakes.
Charming. They're a fine-looking little pigeon.
Aren't they nice? Did you know that's where squabbling comes from?
From squabbling?
Yeah, all the little young pigeons in the nest came at each other, you see. And so they were taken to squabble.
I had some friends who had them, and there was a side lavatory by the side of the house where the dovecot was, and when you went to the lavatory, they'd all be sitting on the ledge outside the window, all making that terrible noise, you know. Drive you mad.
Yes, I think it does. No peace at all. There we are. Put those out of the way. And I'll fry those up while the pigeons are cooking. And here I've got a tray of pigeons.
Is there some way of telling if they're young or not?
Feel the bones and make sure they're sort of a bit pliable, a bit supple. And press down on the breastbone and you'll feel it give. Now smear them well with butter. The one thing you want to avoid is the pigeon drying out. It's fascinating, this whole thing of pigeon racing, isn't it? I mean, the Queen is a very keen pigeon racer. It's always rather nice. You know, see her in her cloth cap out there, racing her pigeon. And a bit of butter within each cavity, just to keep them moist. My father, you know, used to have his pigeons flown from Cairo.
Extraordinary. particularly good pigeons from Cairo.
Yes, they breed them specially for the table. There we are. And then, nice bit of streaky bacon over the top of them. Again, to make sure that they keep moist and lubricated. Yeah, just tuck it down. And these will go in a hot oven, gas 7 or thereabouts, for 10 to 15 minutes, as long as you like them. But they must be pink, don't overcook them.
No, they'll turn into leather, won't they?
And a great treat here, these are actually pigeons' livers.
They were delicious.
Well, because they've been shot, you see, you get them with all the stuff inside them. Otherwise, if you can't get pigeons' livers, and you very often can't, then you can always use chicken livers. I'm just going to put them through a sieve. And all I've done with these livers is just saute them in a little bit of butter until they're barely cooked. And I'm going to use these to thicken my sauce.
When your father's pigeons came from Cairo, what did you do with them? Did you keep them somewhere?
No, they were dead.
Oh, they were dead. I thought they arrived, you know, like the quails in that wonderful film, Babette.
Babette's Feast. Oh, wouldn't that have been good? No, they arrived all packaged and indeed frozen. I suspect that he had them sort of sent on a plane that was supposed to be carrying medical supplies, because I don't know what the official attitude would be to importing pigeons from Cairo.
I once had to bring back the ashes of a dead friend from Bahrain, because even though they were just ashes, because it was the remains, you had to pay an enormous sum of money to put them on an aeroplane. Quite ridiculous. So I wrapped them in a petticoat and brought them home.
But now I'm going to put these pigeons in the oven and go over here and make my sauce.
Very hot, be careful.
Thank you, Jennifer. So all I'm going to do now for making my sauce is put a little white wine in this pan and some juniper berries, which I've crushed. You must remember to crush them.
Throw them in willy-nilly.
Indeed. And I'm just going to put in my pureed pigeon livers and stir that around. And some stock, some good pigeon stock or other game stock. Bit of pepper and salt. Keep stirring it so that it dissolves and thickens.
When you make game stock, do you have any feelings about mixing game? I mean, any old game I eat, I save the bones and I keep them in the deep freeze until I have enough to make a good stock. I don't mind if they're mixed.
Not at all. No, I put a bag in the freezer and just sort of add to it as I get carcasses and bones. And
yes, so do I.
And to lift it at the end, just to finish it off, a squeeze of lemon juice.
Time for my hop and john to be mixed with my hop and rice. Hoppity hoppity hoo. Put that on there.
Looks nice.
Smells delicious. There's a nice sort of fragrance coming up. And we'll add the rice. This is ordinary long grain, the patna. Not the arborea, not risotto rice. And then, I don't suppose they did it really in USA, but I'm going to put all that parsley on it. But I always like that look. It looks nice. There we are. There's my hop and john is ready.
Yes, so's my sauce.
It'll go very well with the pidge.
I think so.
What a luscious landscape.
Perfect for Welsh cows and Welsh butter. I've organised a little educational trip to the dairy.
Here's the place.
Hello.
Good morning, ladies. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Marvellous to meet you at last.
Nice to meet you.
Lovely. Take a look at this, girls. What do you think of that? That's fermented fresh milk for you. That was walking in the field this morning.
Fermented fresh milk?
Yes.
Not cream?
With cream.
With cream?
Yes, we add a bit of cream, about 20% cream into that.
And what do you ferment that with?
We keep a little bit of culture from the butter we did before. And I watch after that culture better than the wife. Yes. Right, we've got to pour it into this butter churn. Look how thick that is.
Wonderful.
Lovely.
It looks always so beautiful. How can people resist it? Idiots.
Right, let's get my homemade contraption.
I love it.
Wonderful.
You're Heath Robinson. How long will
Here
this
we go.
take?
It'll take about 20 minutes.
Oh, my dear, you'll be exhausted. I feel you should be sitting down with it between your knees.
They did actually in front of the fire in the old days. And you either sing lullabies or just like my father, which had a great tenor voice, he used to sing, "How is Gavaretto? Is there any goats in the hills again?"
Can you sing it?
Oes Gavaretto, oes bigotro, ar creigiau gwyron maer hen afryn crwydro. Gafr wen, bol, wen, chris, wen, wen. Right, ladies, which one of you would like to take a chance at this job?
I'll have a go.
But to take it in turns.
Yes, take it in turns.
Or you get milk churn elbow. Quite enough of that, there.
Right, I'll carry on. Washed and salted. Let's give it a fair bit of bashing. Take another Scotch hand.
That's great. Good old pedal.
Scotch hand, did you call it?
Yes. Here we go, ladies. And not a bad job on a Monday morning if you don't like somebody. You just only have to think about them and wham! You see the water bouncing
Yes,
out
look
of
at it coming out of it.
Right, who's the first one to volunteer for this job?
I'll have a go. Look at this.
Belt the life out of it. We might make a dairymaid of you in the end.
We reckon?
Yes, well.
Of course you can.
It'll take time.
It's got that nice rugged look of the amateur.
It does, doesn't it, like, yeah. Right. There we are, ladies. Your labour of love here today. A wonderful piece of butter.
Thank you very much. Isn't that lovely?
Looks like heaven. Wonderful. It was lovely to meet you.
Thank you. It's been my privilege.
Thank you very much.
Ta-ra, Rwan Canal. Ta-ra.
I'm going to make a Quercian apple cake.
A what?
A Quercian apple cake.
What is it? Question.
Quercy is the southern part of Perigord.
Oh, really? I've never heard of it.
Well, no, most people haven't, but I once spent a rather diverting part of my debauched existence down there. And here I've got some flour, and I'm just going to put in it some baking powder and mix that about. I'm just going to make a well in the middle of that. And into it, I'm going to put 2 beaten eggs and some softened butter. And then, using my fingertips, I'm going to work all that in. And what I'm going to fill this cake with is sliced apples, eating apples, not cooking apples, because cooking apples, as we know, fall to pieces. Although it's a French cake, preferably not golden delicious. And I've left them macerating, that lovely word, macerating, overnight in rum and orange flower water and a bit of lemon rind.
Very exotic, orange flower water. My father used to use it as an aftershave.
Yes, lovely smell. And here I've got 7 fluid ounces of the liquid, which I've strained off the apples. And I'm going to use this to help me make my pastry. And just keep working it, and it will come together. It's very nice, Quercy. It's one of those sort of areas of Perigord. It's not as well known as the sort of main truffle area. And they have a lot of geese down there, so you get a lot of foie gras.
They're good.
And quite a few truffles. Just sort of keep playing with it. And eventually it will come good on you. I'm going to put that to rest. And this is what it looks like 2 hours later.
It's turned into a nice bun.
Yeah, it's become pliable and beautiful. It's sort of workable and soft and silky and a bit like chamois leather.
That's amazing.
Now, move all this out of the way because for my next trick, I have this tablecloth. Spread that out smoothly on the table. And I'm just going to flour it because you're going to do the next part of this on the cloth.
I love this sort of nonsense.
And for this bit only, I'm going to use a rolling pin. And don't put a lot of weight on it, just flatten it out a bit. Try and keep it into as even a shape as you can. And then you use your hands. And working from the middle, you just keep spreading it out very gently. One of the reasons Cursian girls in such demand as wives. And try not to let it go into holes, but if it does, it doesn't actually matter because you're going to roll it up. What you don't want it to do is sort of get too bunched up at the edges. Well, I'm going to be some time with this, so what are you up to?
I'm going to do a dish of simple soused herrings. That's very good and rather forgotten fish. I mean, people go and buy this fish in cellophane in supermarkets when a good fresh herring is remarkably cheap and remarkably good for you. Much better than all these expensive fish, as a matter of fact, because it's one of the oily fishes, which is exceedingly good for your inside. Anyway, on with the herrings. What you do is, when you buy them, make sure that the eyes are nice and bright, because that means they're fresh. There's a nice little gleaming fish, you see. It's really quite simple. Don't be frightened of the bones. I'll show you. Cut the head and tail off. Now you would take out the gut. And don't say, I can't. You can. There you are. Now you want to get the backbone out. And that's very easy too. Turn the fish upside down on the board and press flat, gently like that. As by magic, that will loosen the backbone. Look, you can help it with the back of the knife if you want. But you can just pick it out, you see, like a furry caterpillar. There it goes. Then just trim the sides off to make a dainty fish. Then run your fingers just to see if there are a few more bones left. But you see, it's no big deal. It's easy. You see how beautiful that is? A lovely herring fillet. Cut it in half and pop them in this charming dish. Right. I'll just go and rinse my fingers before I start putting the spices on. A very good thing to have in the sink is half a lemon, because in case the telephone goes or, you know, you have to leave it with your fishy fingers, if you scrounge your fingers into the lemon, it'll take all the smell away and you'll be fresh and nice. Now, I have here pickling spice, and I shall sprinkle about a heaped tablespoon over the fillets. You can buy this already made up, but it's really a mixture of coriander, mustard seed, peppers, chilies, and spice. Couple of nice bay leaves. Pop them in. Onion rings. Place them nicely or haphazardly.
Can't you be nice and haphazard?
Story of my life. Salt, pepper, then a mixture of half white wine and half some very good wine vinegar. I've got something very grand here. Vinaigre de vin blanc de la Champagne. How about that? About the same amount of white wine. I'm going to put it in a slow oven for about 1.5 hours. Then you have to let it cool before you eat it. With a good dollop of sour cream, I like it. There we are. Now let's go on with your magic. That's looking remarkable. It's like some wonderful old bit of parchment.
Isn't it incredible?
Yes.
It just takes time and patience and application. It sort of wants to be as thin as cigarette paper.
Good gracious.
And paint this with melted butter. Just pretend you're Vincent van Gogh while you're painting it. And then I'm just going to sprinkle evenly across this the drained apples which have been macerating and spread them out. You don't want them piling up on top of one another. Keep them as flat as possible. Smells wonderful.
I must say, it's quite a labour of love, isn't it?
It is indeed, yes. Absolutely, but worth every mouthful. There we go. And you can, if you want, a bit tidy, sort of trim the edges. But who wants to be tidy? And then, using the tablecloth as an aid, be gentle again, you know, slowly, slowly, there's no hurry.
Slowly does it.
You roll it up. Keep pulling the cloth towards you as you do it. So.
This is wonderful. It looks like something made in a grand convent. For high days and holidays.
And be careful at this stage, you don't jerk your tablecloth too smartly so it rolls off the table the other end.
It'll be heartbreaking. On and on, on and on, you're at the end.
Right? And then you're going to roll it up very gently and carefully. Roll it round into a spiral. And then the next thing is to transfer it to a baking sheet.
Tricky?
That's right, use the tablecloth. Brush it with beaten egg. Just to glaze it.
It looks like a giant tortellini.
It does a bit,
Yes.
doesn't it? Yes. And then sprinkle it with a bit of caster sugar. And now I'm going to put this in a fairly hot oven, sort of gas 7, for about 50-55 minutes. Just keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't burn. And when it's all nice and brown and golden and whatever, eat it.
Eat it! Bravo, Dad. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Tour de force, I call that. Magnificent.
Just sit there and I'll give you a ride. So much easier than when I weighed 9 stone, this isn't. That was a lot of fun.
Wasn't that good?
I tell you what I really like to do.
I'm sure that could be possible.
It's all right, Jennifer, I'm not making indecent proposals to him.
You never know with her.
Never know.
Left foot in, put your right foot over. Left foot in, put your right foot over.
I feel like a chorus girl.
2, 3, kick. Oh, she had to go and lose it at the Astor. Wouldn't take her mother's good advice.
No, it isn't as though every girl has got one, and she wouldn't let it go at any price.
So, what are we doing, Les?
Well, we called it legging. This is where they used to do it years ago, and there was no such thing as engines and things. This is how we did it, and that's where the term come from, leg it.
You couldn't take the horse through a tunnel, could you?
Exactly. The horse had to walk over the top, and the boat had to be pushed through by legs.
Like an old horse.
Yes.
Must have built up their calf muscles beautifully.
The light, the light.
We made it, Jennifer.
All done.
Almost there.
All done.
Just one last shove. Push on. Brilliant.
Healthy herrings steeped in spices.
A really good way to deal with a small bird.
A meal in itself, and pretty to boot.
Not an ordinary apple cake, it repays the gentle touch.
Back to sandwiches tomorrow, though, isn't it?
Yeah, no. Back to reality.
You remember, Leslie?
He's got on it.
Cheers, George. Cheers, George.
Well, here we are, the end of this little journey.
Nice to be going home, yes.
No more driving. It's so kind of Les to give us a push. Hi, Les.
Hello. Well done, Les.
This is great.
This is the life. Wonderful. I mean, it's amazing. You know, Thomas Telford, who built all these waterways around here, he was an incredible man. He was completely illiterate, couldn't read or write, and he used to go to bed with a piece of string and tie knots in it until he got his problems solved. Well, I thought we were rather good with the butter. I thought we did rather well.
It was great fun. Never done it before.
No, never done it before.
And never done legging before.
No.
Rather those sort of things you can, you know, at a Christmas party when they say, what do you think you've done that nobody else has done before? Legging! Further information to these receipts can be found on CFAX, page 580.
What a lovely view, isn't it?
A bottle a day keeps heart attacks at bay. Or is it a glass? Or,